Okay, can you all hear me? Please say yes. Thumbs up in the chat if you can hear me. Joni Balani.
Hello, I downloaded the OVC background, but it's not coming in my effects for some reason.
Click on the plus sign. And sometimes you have to go and look through all of your photos to find it. That's what it makes me do. It never comes up for some reason. I have to go look through all of my pictures to find it. Seven o'clock on the dot. I'm in my dining room. Hey y'all, hello everyone, hello, blessings, Trish, see Nookie, I'm sorry, Michael, Imani, Patricia, Miss Nikki, higher levels, Jasmine, welcome everyone. Did you find it, Joni?
Yep, got it.
Okay. Yes, the official names. We're at work, so we have to call each other by our government monikers.
Hi, everyone.
Hey. Joni, is that you? I don't think I've ever seen you on camera before.
Yeah, I don't really get on camera too often.
Awesome. Yolanda is in the audience. Margot Dupree for U.S. Senate. Is our candidate here yet? Let's see here. No, he is not here yet. Paging the doctor, Dr. Morgan-Aguilera. How is everyone this evening? If you are new here, then what we do is when we arrive, we share the live. Please share it out to your followers so we can get a wide audience in here for Dr. Morgan-Aguilera. So I'm going to take my own advice. I'm going to repost it and I'm going to add it to my, and then I'm going to spam all of my followers. Come and see us. Let's see. Come listen to this political live, this wonderful live. We're going to have a great candidate on tonight from Texas. The Texans are celebrating a big win, a big court win. You guys had Joni the other day.
I don't think I got caught up on that. What was the big one?
Joni, the court said no to your gerrymandered map.
Oh, that one. Yes, that made me feel relieved, honestly.
Yes. So I know Dr. Aguilera is probably going to talk about that tonight because I'm going to ask him about it, or you're going to ask him about it. The White House had a big thing happen today. Trump got to meet the new elected mayor of New York City at the White House today. I hear that went well. They had a nice cordial meeting. Some jokes were exchanged, some smiles, some handshakes, some how do you do's, how are things going, I wish you the best. Who said what? I do not know.
Well, that's good. I'm glad that they got along, at least.
Yeah, they were professional. You know how politicians are.
Yeah.
Oh, Nikki, I'm sorry, Michael has some feelings about that. Well, Trump being from New York City, he had to meet the person who's running his favorite place, or who's going to be running his favorite place. But if you're coming in, please tap the screen to like the live. Also, send your daily heartney out. Just $1 to support our channel and the work that we do here. Also, share the live with your followers, with at least 10 followers, 10 people. Let them know that we're interviewing a political candidate from the state of Texas who's running for Congress in the state of Texas. Also, you can repost it. You can repost this. You can share it to your stories. You can like while we're waiting for the candidate. You all can tap the screen, get our likes up, get us up to 1,000, then 2, then 5, then 10,000. Get us on that FYP so that we can get out into the, I'm sorry, I missed the bubble gum. So we can get it. I want some Texans in here. I know Joni is from Texas. I know there's somebody else in here from Texas. No, Black isn't here. Where's Black Dawn? Black Dawn is probably at his black job, as he likes to say.
He might be.
Alice. Alice is from Texas. She's part of OVC. Trish. Oh, Miss Trish is in Texas? I didn't know you were in Texas. I thought you were in one of the Carolinas. Well, hello there, Miss Trish. This one's for you. I don't know any Texas songs. What's that Texas song? Listen, precious, ain't no hold 'em. Lay your cards down, 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 down.
There's that one, and then there's like a country song that's like, God bless Texas. Yeah.
What's that one they did in the Pee Wee Herman movie? The stars at night are big and bright.
Yeah.
Deep in the heart of Texas.
I only know the SpongeBob version of that one.
Oh gosh. Oh my goodness.
Lighting is not too good. Let me see if I can get somewhere with better lighting.
Oh, thank you for the fact checking on that, Our Vote Counts host. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Because I have the memory of a goldfish. Appreciate you. Tonight, I want to give a big thanks to our researchers who came up with the questions and let us know the bio of the candidate. They work so very hard for us. I mean, they have, you don't even have to ask. They just do it. Candidates, they got it. Like that, like that, like that. So we want to thank them. Also thank the host of OVC who will be changing the pictures for us. They put the graphics up. They make sure that the questions, if somebody comes into the multi-guest, that they're able to come up. They see what we don't see. They fix what we don't know about. So I appreciate you. And I appreciate the audience. Thank you for joining us tonight. How are you feeling, Joni? This is your first one, right?
Yeah, I'm A little nervous, but I'm ready. But I am ready for the weekend as well. So that's how I'm feeling at this moment.
All right. When do you start your holiday preparations?
Um, Probably Wednesday night because I do everything last minute. What about you?
I used to do everything last minute until I learned about what do you call it? What you do with the turkey when you soak it overnight in a salt bath?
Hmm.
What
I
are
didn't think
people help Auntie out? You know my brain is brine, Joni.
right.
Thank
Okay.
you to the
We
I can't
smoked the
remember
turkey.
immediately.
I feel like since I moved to Texas, we always have smoked turkey. We've never done
Ooh.
oven.
How do you smoke a turkey?
For a very long time.
You do you have one of those egg things? Those green egg barbecue grill looking have you seen those?
Yeah, I mean, we have a barbecue grill, but it's also like there's a tiny smoker on the side of it. I don't know how to
Oh.
explain it. But we mostly do it at families' houses, so we use their
Mhm.
smokers.
Oh, okay. But that sounds delicious. I don't think I've ever had a smoked turkey before. I'm straight oven, stick it in the oven for 10 hours.
Yeah, that works too. It's
The
still good in the
entire
oven.
house. It is, but you know what? The entire house will be about 90 degrees.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're doing the turkey. Are you doing the sides too? Do you have to do everything? Are you like me? You have to do everything?
No, thankfully. Goodness, because there's no way I could. I'm doing the macaroni this year, and I found a new recipe. It's like
Joni.
macaroni geddon or something
Now,
like
you know
that.
something, Joni? I don't know if anyone has ever told you this, but Thanksgiving is not the time to try a new recipe. So I hope you have practiced.
I
Hope
probably
you have
should.
practiced.
I should probably, yeah, I should probably do
Just
that.
make like a little pan of it, like maybe tomorrow or Sunday. Make a little pan.
I will do
test
that.
a
Thank you
test
for that
pan.
advice. Everybody else seems to know but me.
Yeah, that's the only time I never try anything new. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to stick to the old standards. If I haven't made it in the last 3 months, then it's not going to be served that night.
Right.
I just don't like taking chances with food and then nobody wants to eat it. Have you ever had that happen? You make a whole dish of something and it's the only thing that isn't touched.
Mm-hmm. I did. I made a soup one time in the crock pot, and everybody was like, "Ew, what is that?" And it was actually really good, but I was the only one that ate it.
You should, okay, so yes, you'll eat it because it tastes good to you, but then nobody else will eat it. And then you have to eat an entire like vat of soup. Or like last year I made collard greens. They were so good. Nobody wanted to eat
No.
greens.
I
Nobody.
love greens. We have to have them every Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Yes. Oh, so good. I even
Mm-hmm.
I did smoke the meat. Not smoked it, but what did I do to it? I cooked it somehow. It was very delicious. It was tender, falling off the bone. The turkey meat. And they still didn't want it.
Oh,
It's
that
fine.
sounds good though. This sounds
It
so good.
was. People don't like to eat vegetables on Thanksgiving. They just want
No,
the carbs. They want the rolls, they want the potatoes, they
the
want the
pie.
turkey, the pie, the stuffing or dressing, however people call it where they're at. They want what's the other thing? I don't do cranberry sauce. I don't like. Do you like cranberry sauce?
Um, Not. I'm not a big fan of it. I don't hate it, but
Yeah.
that's so.
Oh, Blessings says she wants greens for Thanksgiving. Well, Blessings, if you were in Cleveland, you could have greens.
Yeah, I
Nobody in
hope.
my household likes to eat vegetables on Thanksgiving. Hey, Alice. So I think I'm just going to make a small pot just for myself. What else? What else do we have? Cake, pie. There's something else I'm missing. Do you do anything special? Do you have any like special family traditional food that you do?
We always well, my husband's aunt always makes the deviled eggs. Those are really good.
Oh, my kids love those eggs.
Yeah.
Oh, my sister makes the deviled eggs, but she's going out of town for Thanksgiving.
Oh.
And I don't like eggs, so I guess
I'm not big on eggs either, but I like deviled eggs. I feel like that's the only time I really eat eggs. But
look up the recipe for $1,000,000 deviled eggs. Why is it called $1,000,000 deviled eggs?
I'm curious about that too.
Does it have Miss Trish says that her extra special thing is crawfish, crab meat, and shrimp. Now, Miss Trish, did the Pilgrims have crab and crawfish and shrimp meat at the first Thanksgiving? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think they had corn and they had wild game. They didn't have crab legs, lobster tails, Cheddar Bay biscuits. Our candidate is on his way. I hope you guys have enjoyed our conversation about Thanksgiving.
Probably made everybody hungry.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Has anyone had dinner tonight yet? Or are you,
I have
what are you
not
making?
had dinner. I'm waiting until this is over to go eat.
What are you
Making
gonna
your liver quiver. I think I'm going to go out and get myself something since it's just me. My daughter is, she left me. Everyone leaves. Nobody stays. She said, Mommy, what are you going to do this weekend? I said, well, nothing. I'm just going to hang out. That's not true. I'm going to do everything. I'm going to have a party. I'm going to have a house party.
She's gonna be mad if she finds out.
So mad. So mad. I showed her a picture of I went to Lowe's the other day and they have this, they have their Christmas decorations out. Everybody's got them out. One of the decorations is a giant peacock. Oh my God. I don't know why I don't know what a peacock has to do with Christmas, but it is so pretty. And I was like, what would you think if I bought this and just put it out in front of the house? She was like, oh, it would look so pretty. Let me see what it looks like. I showed it to her. She was like, yeah, no. I think it would look cute though. It's not Christmas, so I wouldn't, get in trouble for that. But it's so different,
Yeah. That is different. I was trying to think if that was in the 12 Days of Christmas song, but I think that's just doves.
It was the swans a swimming. Was it 7? Yeah, 7 swans a swimming.
6 geese a laying.
Yeah. Geese, swan. There's some other bird.
4
Morning
condors,
doves. Morning doves.
3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge.
Is that a song about birds? Wait a minute. I just noticed that. And a partridge and a pear tree. It's about birds. Wait a minute.
Birds in that song. I didn't even really
notice that. 6 geese. Oh my goodness.
It's all birds.
5 onion rings. No, that's not in there. But welcome in, everybody. Please tap the screen while you're listening to us banter back and forth about birds of all kinds. Turkey, roasted Cajun, partridges in a pear tree. Like the live, share it out. We got 177 shares. Yes, thank you. Can we get up to 200? Just show people, be like, this is OVC. They're interviewing candidates. Dr. Kenneth Morgan-Aguilera is here. Yes.
Welcome in.
Just like a doctor to be late. Do you know, doctor? I know he's not a medical doctor. I know. I understand. But if you all can like the live, share it out. Send us your daily heart knee. If you're in the chat and you're, hello, Dr. Morgan-Aguilera. Oh my goodness. I'm about to snot it all over myself.
For some reason, I saw something that said 7 o'clock. I thought it was 7 o'clock my time and 8 o'clock East Coast. So I was like,
I'm going to tell you who to blame for that too. I'm going to tell you who to blame. Off camera, I'll tell you who to blame.
It wasn't my fault. It was not.
She's in the audience tonight too.
And ma'am, I am a psychiatrist.
You're a psychiatrist. I thought you were a professor.
I have that too. I do teach college.
Oh, you're a psychiatrist.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, that is so needed here.
I deal with the mental issues of people.
Wow. Okay.
That's amazing.
I like that.
I was gonna try to put the little back screen they gave me to put in. Hang on, let me put y'all give me a backdrop. Give me 1 second. Let me add that in. Okay, give me one quick second.
You'll be the first to try it.
Oh, I actually had it prepped. Hang on. Let me do.
Miss Yoli makes our backgrounds.
You know, I fight with this new stuff. My oldest kid is 33. Usually my children would do this stuff for me.
You do not have a 33-year-old. Please stop.
My oldest is 33. My youngest is 21.
Please stop.
I am not as young as you think I am.
You know, Dr. Morgan, what I am not is naive.
How much you want to bet? I can show you ID.
You do not.
I am, baby. I am.
Wow.
You know, I take care of myself, but I am. These pictures behind me on the wall are my children, and they're all grown. They all have kids. I have 8 grandchildren.
Okay, when I read that, I was like, there's no way. Let me take that out of the bio. Somebody mistyped. There's no way. You're a grandpa?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh.
I have 8 grandbabies.
Wow. What do they think about you running for Congress? Are they like...
They actually encouraged it because I was worried about my kids and my family being targeted, you know, because people can get real stupid.
Yeah.
For lack of a better word. This is not letting me add it. I was trying to add the picture in my background because I would have to literally go out of your live and come back in order to...
No, you have to go to... What is it? Go to, how did I do it? Yeah, click on yourself,
Okay.
right? Click on yourself and then click on probably the plus sign.
See, when I click on myself, there's no plus sign here.
Go to effects and then you go to scroll all the way over and do you see the green screen prompt?
I'm looking for the green screen now, but no.
It's like it looks like a picture of a sunrise and it's got a green background. You see how my background is green?
See, I see a green background, but that definitely ain't it.
OVC said, are you on a phone or tablet or laptop?
I'm on my iPhone. There it goes.
There you go.
But no, I am a grandfather, baby. I know I took care of myself. See, I'm starting to lose a hair up there, but no.
No, I listen. No, I mean no offense whatsoever, but you have a youthful look about you.
When I tell the story to people, I remember welfare government cheese. When government cheese and the cornflakes came in a white box with the red rooster beak on it. Yes. The oatmeal was in a white box with black labels on it. Government cheese was in a brown box. A little brown square carton box like that. That's how old I am.
That's how old I am.
We made Franken beans because back then you took your pork and beans, you come up and put them inside the hot dogs inside the pork and beans on the stove, and you put them in your corn. So see, these things that they're making today in the can, we cut that crap up and we made it.
We invented that. We should have had that patented, really.
So, yeah, that's why I said, so no, baby, I'm a whole lot older than I look. A lot of people are like, really? I'm like, yeah, my son's 33 years old. No, baby, I am not as young as I look.
Well, thank you for joining us this evening. Is it okay if I call you What do you like to be called? Ken?
Ken is fine.
Okay.
I don't have to show name because I'm doctor. Nah, baby, I'm good.
All right, Ken. We're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to OVC, Our Vote Counts. I am your moderator, Ayana, and I'm joined by, I cannot talk tonight, Joni. Introduce yourself, darling. This is her first time doing a town hall, so let the people know where you are from, Joni.
Hi, I'm Joni. I am from Dallas, Texas area, and I'm 29. And I'm also in the mental health field. I'm actually working on my master's degree, so I'm glad to see that we have people running for Congress that are in the mental health field. That's awesome.
We got the people in Washington think they in the medical field ordering crap and saying crap. You know, I'm gonna be nice.
Listen, I know that you like to use the swear words.
I'm not gonna be nice. I'm a veteran. I served in the army for 12 years, and I got veteran language, and it starts.
I too am fond of that. So I also have to watch myself. I'm on my best behavior when we do the town halls. So tonight we're going to be talking with Dr. Kenneth Morgan-Aguilera, who is running for Texas's 12th congressional district, the Democrat primary. Do you know the date of the primary? You're muted. Are you? I can't hear you.
I can't hear either.
Dr. Ken, you're muted. You're muted. You're muted. Oh, it said your microphone is turned off. Do you have on headphones or you don't have any headphones in? Do you think maybe your phone randomly connected to Bluetooth? Mine does that sometimes. Can you see if your phone randomly connected to Bluetooth and maybe it's playing on an Alexa somewhere in your house? Mine will do that just while I'm in bed watching TV, and my phone will start playing on my Alexa. I don't know any sign language.
I know some letters and sign, and some of the baby sign language.
Oh, he can. I forgot if I say that lady's name and she's within any kind of right. She thinks I'm talking to her. No, I'm not talking to you.
Or Google.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I forgot to say computer lady. Oh, he disappeared. Where'd he go?
Is he still in here?
He's not. While he's gone, we could talk a little bit about. We're having all kinds of issues tonight. People are playing music. The computer lady is going off. Dr. Ken, come on up, come on up, come on up.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I don't know what was happening. My cell phone rang, and when my cell phone rang, it went to my iPad, my laptop, which is an iPad, a notebook, Apple, and it transferred the phone call.
Yep.
And so that's what happened.
iPhones randomly connect to anything and everything. They'll randomly connect to your headphones, your earbuds.
Yeah, I got Alexa, I got everything in the house, so everything moves around, and I don't always know it's doing it.
All right. Okay.
Sorry about that.
Welcome back, Dr. Morgan-Aguilera, to Our Vote Counts. We're going to get started again. Our Vote Counts is a nonpartisan movement uniting Americans from all walks of life to empower voters, support candidates of integrity, and ensure every voice is heard. Through education, outreach, accountability, and action, we're building a stronger democracy, one informed vote at a time. Thank you for joining us. Remember, your vote is your power. And if you are in the audience while we're speaking with Ken, and you have a question for him, you can leave the question in the chat and we can ask him, or you can hit the multi-guest button and you can come up and ask him yourself. We take all relevant questions. No question is stupid or dumb. We don't think of anything like that. But remember, these questions will be divided into different subjects. They're divided into different subjects. And so we like to stay on topic. So if we're talking about education and your question is about education, come on up, ask Dr. Ken. I'm going to call you Dr. Ken. I don't know why I keep saying that, Dr. Ken.
See, I got to be nice because I wanted to say something else, but see, I got to be nice.
Oh, please be nice to me. I work for the government. I've suffered so much this year. Dr. Ken is a double doctorate holding nonprofit organization running Superhuman. He's a veteran, and he's hoping to gain the nomination for the Democratic congressional race in Texas's 12th district. And with gerrymandering on the ballot, we'll talk to him about his decision to run for Congress, his platform, and vision for the future of Texas and the United States. Ken, for those meeting you for the first time, please tell us a little bit about yourself and why you decided to run.
All right, guys. Well, like she just said, my name is Dr. Kenneth Morgan-Aguilera, and I am from Chicago. I am a husband. I'm married. I'm a father of 5. I have 8 grandchildren. I'm also a veteran. I have been in healthcare for well over 25 years, and in my 25-year history, I have ran hospitals like Memorial Hermann, MD Anderson as executive director. I've ran, a number of facilities, skilled nursing facilities. It didn't matter. I've done it. I've done it all. Grew up very poor. Mom's welfare food stamps growing up, so I'm very much a working class. I am one of 7. My mother had 7 children. Like I said, I had 5. So I come from a pretty large family. My grandmother had 12 children. And on my dad's side, she had 20. So it's quite a few of us. We're a big family. We spaced all over, but more or less, like I said, guys, I am a complete, truly grassroots candidate, down to earth, working class guy. Like I said, I spent the last 20-some years giving back to my community, and currently I am running a nonprofit healthcare organization in which we take care of the uninsured and the underserved population in the DFW area. Prior to going into that, I also worked for Texas Department of Criminal Justice, where I was a chief admin officer for the drug rehab program for DFW and Abilene. So I am not new to the politics. I'm not new to giving back to the community. I am very much well versed and I understand things. And I felt like, because I was fearful after I saw Trump get in office and the things that he began to do on day one, I knew I had to do something for my children and my grandchildren, because the things that were going to happen was going to be felt for generations to come, and I could not sit back any longer and do anything. And living in District 12, we have Craig Goldman as our current congressman, who doesn't do town halls, who doesn't talk to anybody. We've never seen him. I figured it was time for a change, and I'm sick and tired of seeing people struggling to get ahead in life, only for those that we send to Washington to forget about us. So we need change, and I intend to bring that change that we need.
All right, and we have our first question. The chat wants to know, how has the pause on redistricting impacted your campaign directly, if at all?
Well, honestly, the redistricting didn't affect me. I'm going to tell you why it didn't. I knew, the redistricting was very discriminatory, and it was done intentionally. And so I knew that, or I believed that the Supreme Court would overturn it or put a ban on it so that it would not go in place. So when I began to set up my campaign, I went under the old maps from 2021. I never utilized the new map. So for me, it didn't make any difference for me, because I set out initially campaigning under the 2021 map. And so when the courts put a ban on the new maps and put the old ones back in play, for me, nothing changed, because that's how I set everything up.
All right. That's because you're intelligent. See, this is why we need smart people in government.
That Voters' Right Act, no matter how Greg Abbott and Donald Trump got together to conspire, that vote, they set out to intentionally gerrymander and suppress the voice of the brown and black communities. And there was no way that our court system could sit back and see that and do nothing. I mean, I know they've done some things lately that we all question, but I had no doubt in my mind that it was going to be banned or kept back from being put in play for the 2026 election. So for that reason, why, like I said, it didn't. I was never worried or concerned.
Okay. All right. There we go. So our first question, sir, is an icebreaker. Everyone's favorite part of any meeting, gathering. What's a book, movie, or song that's influenced how you see the world?
I would say there's two. I'm a huge Tyler Perry fan. And I would say one of the biggest movies that I would say influenced me was The Family. Well, let me back up. There's two. And I got to start with the first one, which was the Diary of a Mad Black Woman. And I liked it because Kimberly Lee actually showed the vulnerable side of growing up with a black mother or how it is for a black female. And I liked the things that it showed. But what I did not like about it was that ain't no way in hell you gonna drag a black woman out of her house without her burning it down and tearing it up like Madea did. So for that reason, I love that movie. But then on the flip side, I love The Family That Prays Together Stays Together, because that to me really embodied family and it showed how things really and truly are. And so those are my favorite two movies of all time, followed by Lean on Me. I almost forgot, they used to call me Crazy Joe. Lean on Me. You know, I'm one for togetherness and family. And so it's hard to give you just one. But those are my two top movies. But growing up, it was also Lean on Me.
Okay, great. That was one of my favorite movies when I was a kid, too. Lean on Me.
I love to hear him sing that song. When that lady was teaching that class and she get to singing, and it was like, it just sent chills through your body, you know. But I'm an old-fashioned, down-to-earth, straightforward type of guy. You know, I'm the guy that you're going to see out in Walmart, McDonald's. I do my own grocery shopping. I don't act like I'm better than anyone else because of education or anything else, because, you know, we all put our pants on one leg at a time like everybody else do. And you up today and tomorrow you can be down, because the world goes around and what goes around comes around. Karma is real. You know?
I hope you all are listening to him. Listen to him. So I'm going to pass it over to Joni, who's going to start our first category of government, democracy, and accountability. Go ahead, Joni.
Yeah, so I guess the first question would be, because you said supporting term limits in Congress, how do you believe term limits would help restore accountability and trust in the government?
Okay, Joni, I do believe in term limits. However, what I'm going to say about term limits, granted, we got some people that's been in Washington for 30 years and the things that they're governing on is so outdated. So I do think you should not be there as a lifelong politician. You know, you do need to cycle through with fresh blood. But I also need to say that when we take that in consideration, it's going to take more than one term sometimes to fix the things that need to be fixed. And so within reason, meaning, for example, I'm going to use 2026 election, okay? We know Trump has done so many things that we want to fix and reverse and put back in place. So until we get a majority in the House and in the Senate, it's going to take time to reverse and fix all the things that have been destroyed or torn apart. And so, whereas you may not get that in one term, you may not get it in two, but you'll get it, you know, probably within maybe 2 to 3 cycles, you'll get it. And so, but I do believe in term limits, but we also want to be realistic in what it's going to take, because it's going to take building the correct team, the right team, you know, in office in order to change things back for the better. So I hope that answers your question, but I just didn't want to set the wrong or false expectation, because I am for term limits and I don't think you should be in Washington until you die.
I agree. Okay. Well, moving on to the second question. Many voters feel that politicians prioritize party interest over people. What specific steps would you take to make the government more transparent and responsive to constituents?
First and foremost, I think it starts out with a grassroots campaign. Because when you start out with a grassroots campaign, it lets people know that you are not for sale and you're truly for the people. Because when you got people like Ted Cruz, and I know I'm going to run off a bit to a side, but I want to be able to explain this. When you have people like Ted Cruz, Craig Goldman, Donald Trump are all supported by AI and other foreign interest lobbying groups in other countries, foreign interest lobbying groups and other lobbying groups that don't have our best interests in mind. And when they're donating to these campaigns, they're buying these politicians. And so these politicians are on the take. And so when they're voting and they're doing things, most of their legislation and agenda is for those big companies that funded them and not for the people. And once you can take the politics and the money when you can take the money out of elections and politics, then it goes back to politics for the people, with people first and not politics first. And so that's the biggest way I think I would do that. And also bringing in transparency. For example, we always see Trump's press secretary, or we see Mike Johnson. I'm gonna use Mike Johnson for example. He's always in front of the cameras right now. Okay, but the same transparency he wants to show in his daily press briefings that he has, if they took that same time to make sure that everything on the House legislative floor was being live streamed for transparency purposes, the people would always know what's going on in Washington. It would never be a surprise. Because right now, if you pay attention to what's happening during legislative days, they don't live stream everything. They do not. And if they constantly made everything a live stream where nothing was off limits to the people, then we would always know what's happening in Washington. So until we give 100% transparency in Washington, what we got now will continue to happen. And that's how I would do it, is by bringing people there with me, by making sure that anything that I do is live stream, is full transparency, and bringing the things that happen there back to my community. Because if I bring it back to my community, it lets them know what's happening and they're never taken by surprise or shock.
Okay, good. Well, good answer. Number 3, you've described yourself as a citizen legislator. What does that mean to you? And how would that approach differ from traditional career politicians?
Okay. I identify myself as part of the working class. Okay. As you know, because I consider myself part of the working class and I bring the lived experience. When I say lived experience, meaning I grew up poor, welfare, food stamps. I had my first kid at 16 years of age. So I understand the struggle. And when you understand the struggle that the everyday working class people have been through and are going through, the way you function as a legislator is different because you know their struggle. And I use the terminology, how in the heck can somebody represent me in Washington if they don't know my struggle? Because majority of the leaders that we have in Washington are rich, some kind of wealth in their families, or they were born into some kind of wealth, and therefore they are out of touch with the reality. And when you're out of touch with the reality, you don't know what the people in your community are really going through. And because I know what the people are going through, because I lived in it, I lived the experience, I know what it is like, my responses, my things that I give back to the community is going to be different. My expectation is different. My perception is different because it's based around me being part of that working class society, that working class family, because I understand. That makes all the difference in the world.
All right. Thank you for that answer. If anyone has a question for, Joni, where'd you go? If anyone has a question for Ken, you are welcome to come up and ask. I'll give it a few minutes.
And if I talk too fast, guys, tell me, hey, slow down. That's that northern in me. It'll just...
No, you're fine. You are absolutely fine. Let's see if we have any questions in the chat.
But I want to say while you're doing that, I am a big grassroots candidate, guys. And I can't emphasize grassroots and I can't emphasize working class enough. Part of the problem that we got in Washington, and I've said this a few minutes ago, is that the people in Washington lack the understanding and the struggle of what we are truly going through here. And I'm going to use this to talk about healthcare. Healthcare is a major issue right now. So even when we were on a shutdown, the government shut down for 40 days, okay? We were shut down. Nothing was happening at all because of healthcare, in part because of healthcare, which is part of the major reason why we were in a shutdown. Guys, don't get it twisted. Our congressmen, our senator, our president, none of them went without healthcare. So the whole time we are going to go into 2026 with no health care. Our congressmen were still getting paid. They were drawing their paychecks. They were getting top-notch health insurance for them and their families. And most of them only have a $5 copay. They don't understand what we are going through. Many of them don't buy their own groceries. They don't live in our neighborhoods. They didn't go through the things that we're going through. And so how can we truly expect them to understand where we are coming from or our need to have health care when everything they need as politicians are giving to them? It's given to them. They don't have to work for it because they were either born in it or when they got to Washington, they served agendas that did not look out for the need of their community, but for themselves and how they wanted to enrich their own lives. So they are out of touch with reality. And so therefore, they're not in Washington fighting for health care for the people or the senior citizens or the veterans that need care. They're not fighting for that, guys. They're not. Because if they were truly fighting for that, we wouldn't be going through this right now. We wouldn't even be having this conversation about healthcare, SNAP benefits. It wouldn't be a conversation topic piece if the people that we elected was truly looking out for us. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you don't have to apologize. I was actually going to ask you. So, we do have candidates in the past, obviously, who have run grassroots campaigns very successfully. And they get to Washington, D.C., or they get to the State House, and they're like, okay, thanks for getting me here. Get out of the way. I'm going to go get that corporate money when I run for reelection. And they forget all about the little people, the small dollar donors, as the Republicans call them, who got them into office. How do you envision yourself maintaining that grassroots beginning, that fever, that loyalty to the people who got you into office?
I'm going to start with this. That loyalty started before I got in office. Because I am a grassroots and a working class person, that doesn't change. If you've known, people that know me and have worked with me over the years know that the person that you know Kenneth to be today is the same person I was 10, 15, 20 years ago. I don't change because of the position that I hold. I remain true to who I am, and that will never change. And because I am true to who I am and that will never change, I'm not going to get to Washington and forget where I came from. Because like I said before, I'm going to use this terminology. Part of my family, if you notice the name Morgan-Aguilera, is Mexican, Latino, Hispanic. That's part of my family. That's part of who I am. And because I understand and I live that struggle, I'm not going to throw my family away just because I get to Washington. Because to throw them away, whether it's the black side of my family or the Latino, Hispanic side of my family, this is my heritage. And to throw them away is throwing everything else away. Because it's like saying that I'm better than who they are or where I've come from. And that's simply not who I am. I've watched my families hide behind walls when ICE rolls by or because they're worried about what's happening right now because of this administration. I cannot turn my back on my family because this is my family. This is who I am. As a black man, as a Latino, Hispanic man, mixed family, this is who I am. It does not change. And it will not change once I get to Washington. And I want the people to hold me accountable to my word. Because you see me in the stores. And when you say, hey, Dr. Aguilera, you said you weren't going to do this and you did it. Call me out on my If you ever see me not doing what I said I was going to do, feel free. Call me out on it because I intend to be a man of my word, and I believe a man's word is his bond.
All right. Okay. Well.
And yes, fact check. Fact check me, fact check any of them because we had enough lies and drama. We need real. That's the problem in politics today. To ask that question, we need fact checks. We need to.
I was telling somebody the other day, we need tough, we need attack dogs. We don't need anybody trying to fight wearing oven mitts. We don't need that anymore. Hey, Joni.
You can't go to a gunfight with a BB with a knife. You just cannot. We need real. We need honest. We need genuine people that's going to be honest and transparent and tell the truth. This time for sugarcoating crap. Oh, baby, sugar, honey, don't. No, get the hell out. No. We need real. We need straight hip shooters. People's going to shoot you straight from the hip. Forget the knife. I mean, you can put it in a. You can be politically correct and leave the BS behind.
Someone asked in the chat, how do you feel about fact checkers right on the House floor?
I'm for it. Do it. Do it. Call it out. This is why I say if we live stream everything when it's happening on the floor live during legislation, you would have the need for all the lies. And Mike just get there and lie and say, well, we're working hard as the Republicans to give the Democrats and give the people insurance. Liar. He lied. So if they stream all of these things live continuously, where it was always a live stream during legislation, we will always know. When they're behind the scenes talking about Jeffrey Epstein and all these other things that are going on behind the scenes with not on camera, if everything was transparent and put on camera 24/7, you'd have fact check on the spot.
Okay. All right. Speaking of working class, you tout yourself as the working class candidate. You've said it several times. What is your specific plan to create sustainable, good-paying jobs that support families across your district?
Well, first and foremost, and if any of these guys here follow me, I have drafted several plans that are laid out in detail, starting with healthcare, because I'm an advocate. One of my biggest things is to advocate for healthcare. And I believe that part of America being one of the richest countries in the nation, there's no reason why we don't have free healthcare. Healthcare should be free. If Mexico and other countries, Mexico, Canada, Australia can provide free healthcare, there's no freaking reason why in North America we do not have free healthcare. Because we pay billions per year in taxes. And if our legislative and our congressmen and senators were using the money the way it was designed to be utilized, we would have universal health care, universal child care. We would have universal education system where the schools did not turn into colleges into a for-profit, making people like me come out of school with $200,000-$300,000 in student loan debt and making the ability to afford a home unrealistic or out of view or out of touch for most of us. With that being said, I also mapped out a plan to increase minimum wage because, as you know, federal minimum wage is still $7.25 an hour. And there is no way possible to sustain a family, pay for rent, lights, gas, and water, and food on $7.25 an hour. So I laid out a plan with minimum wage going to $20 an hour, which was done over a 2-year period of time, increasing the minimum wage to $20 an hour. Because with a $20 an hour minimum wage, the average person is paying right now, on average, $1,000 per month for rent. And at the current $7.25, even if I round it up to $8 an hour, that's roughly $1,280 a month before taxes. You are already broke before you get your paycheck, before you have to pay rent, lights, gas, water, and food. So we've created a system in which people are dependent upon welfare and food stamps to survive. And when the government shut down, people go without, which is what we just experienced. But I'm an advocate believer that if we make the people in America or in North America more independent, and when I say independent, we give them the things that they need to be successful. If we gave working moms and single mothers and single parent households universal health care, then universal child care and universal health care, that means when mom needs to go out and get a job and work, she can do so and she can make sure her kids are being looked after and looked out for while she's at work. But if she's only making $7.25 an hour and daycare is $350 a week, she can't afford it. So we created a system in which the constituents are dependent on the government to meet their needs with housing, food stamps, Medicaid, and different things like that. But when we give the people the tools they need to be successful, like universal health care, universal child care, universal education, we're giving them the tools they need to be independent so that in the future, should a government shut down, the people don't go without and they're not starving and depend on the government for what they need.
So is it your contention that health insurance should not be tied to employment, that everyone would have the same health care services no matter if they had a job, no job, little bit of income, lot of income?
So in my plan, it's on my TikTok, I created a plan that was called Freedom to Heal. It's a universal tiered healthcare system. It's 2 levels. Okay, on a universal level that's fully 100% tax funded by the taxpayers and paid for by us already, everybody in America would have a universal healthcare plan. However, and it wouldn't cost you anything, but if you wanted to elevate up to a tier level 2, that plan you would pay for. It would not be taxpayer funded. It would either be funded by you or your employer. But that level 2 would give you the option of a PPO, meaning you have more access to different hospitals, elective procedures, and things of that nature on a level 2. Because my plan is only 2 levels. Again, it's the tier level 1, which is universal, across level for everyone, which provides mental health services, prescription, major medical, everything that you need for healthcare will be provided, including mental health services. But if you wanted to elevate up to the 2nd level, then you would support that out of your own pocket or through your employer. Okay. If that answers your question.
Yes, it did. Yes. Many families rely on Social Security and Medicare to make ends meet. You also mentioned SNAP, which many families rely on for food assistance. How would you protect these programs while ensuring long-term stability for future generations?
And I think that goes back to what we just got through talking about just a second ago. With programs like universal health care, universal child care, universal education, you're protecting programs like Medicare for our elderly and our seniors. Because right now, if we had universal health care in place, our seniors would not have to take portions of their Social Security checks to pay for supplemental insurance, to pay for their prescriptions and their different things that they need for healthcare wise. That would be already taken care of and funded already. So that will leave that money freed up for them to do other things with. So this is why I say, so it kind of goes back to what I initially mentioned about the universal healthcare plan. Because with this, again, no one should have to be put in a position where they got to choose between paying the rent and paying for healthcare expenses or insurance or their medications. But when you put a universal plan in place that is fully funded because we already paid for it through our taxes, i.e. whether it's our paychecks every 2 weeks, whether it's through property taxes or simply buying groceries, we've already paid for this through taxes already. It's there. And so I will protect that with those kind of plans.
Okay. And our next question comes from the chat, and this goes into our next category of questions, actually. And it says, what specific policies or actions will you commit to in order to address the disparities in care for African American women?
One, I'm going to say, first and foremost, I'm very much aware that African American women are at higher risk of mortality when they're pregnant. They don't get the same care as their counterparts, whether you're white or Hispanic. Black women typically do not get that level of care that they should get, for example, when they're pregnant. Because I'm going to use what happened in Houston, Dallas recently. A young black female presented to the ER, Dallas Methodist Hospital, I believe it was. She was in labor on her third child, and she's laying there grunting, pushing. And the nurse is just casually at the computer, just doing her little thing, ignoring her. There were laws already put in place to prevent this type of thing from happening. But because Trump got in office and he did these legislative orders, which were, one, illegal, he could not do. Let me back up. I skipped her question. One, there are already policies in place that they are ignoring that will provide a universal healthcare system for everyone. I believe regardless of your race or regardless of your color or your ethnicity or where you're from, if you're providing a basic healthcare, it eliminates this two healthcare system, meaning if you got money, you get this level of care. If you're broke, you get this level of care. It shouldn't be that way. But if we have a universal healthcare plan in place, then healthcare is universal across all spectrums, no matter who you are. Okay. I'm sorry. I know I went around. I kind of get so passionate about what's happening.
What? It's your floor. This is your town hall. However much you want to say, you want to talk a lot, you want to talk a little, it is up to you.
But I want to throw back in what happened to that young lady in Dallas should have never happened. And that nurse that did that, mind you, this is not her first time this has happened. This has happened before. Her license should be revoked, and people like that should not be allowed to participate in the healthcare arena, period. Because no woman, when you are pregnant, regardless of what color you are, your body goes through some very traumatic events. And a woman could potentially be unalived while giving birth to a child. It is a serious thing. And her pain and her traumatic experiences should be taken very serious. And if she's telling you, I'm in pain, it's hurt, the baby's in my butt, I feel it, you should have stopped and gave her the natural assessment that she needed. And it angers me and upsets me because I have a daughter. My daughter has had given birth 3 times, and I can tell you I would tear up heaven and hell and earth behind my children. Because had that been my daughter in the emergency room, they'd had to have some cops in there. Because I'd have tore that mother down to the floor.
I know that's right. And I know you're a psychiatrist. I'm sure you have seen.
I'd have tore that mother up. I'd have forgotten my professionalism. I'd have tore that hospital up. Because there's no way in heaven or hell, earth, you're going to ignore my child that way. I can tell you, my wife, when she gave birth to our last kid, well, she passed away now. But when let me back up, guys. Another reason why I'm passionate about healthcare, I have 5 kids. I've said that. My ex-wife, she unalived herself. She had schizophrenic, bipolar, and psychosis. And she'd been battling that for years. And about 3-4 years ago, I have remarried since, but 3 or 4 years ago, she jumped off the bridge into the river and unalived herself because of her schizophrenia and bipolar and psychosis. So it's real for me, something I experienced, and to have to go through this with my children, to have to go through burying their mother and doing the things that we had to go through. Mental health and mental illness is real, guys. My son, my oldest kid, inherited that mental health illness gene from his mother. And now I have a son who is bipolar and has schizoaffective disorder. So these things are personal for me, and they are very much real. Okay. And so when I am talking to people, I'm passionate because I have lived it. I've been through it and I'm going through it because my son has to have his shots every couple of months. And when he refused to get his shots, he cycles off. And then I had to go in and say, okay, we're not going to do this. I had to go against what he wants and have him admitted to the hospital, force injections and shots on him to make sure that he's back where he needs to be. So, guys, mental health and mental illness is real. I'm an advocate for mental health. I'm an advocate for healthcare. As a healthcare provider, as someone who has worked in the setting for 20 plus years, this is real. It is very real to me. And I can't say it enough. It is horrible to have to bury your wife and to have to go through this with your children to explain to them that mom didn't mean to do this. Was part of her illness. She was sick. And it is a awful experience that I don't want anyone to have to go through. And so it is real, guys. I understand it. And again, when I say I'm a grassroots candidate, a working class guy, I have been there, done that. I understand. So there's nothing you can ask me that I can't tell you that I have not been through. Whether it has been a victim of SA, I was SA as a child. I went through that for years, from the age of 4 until I was about 10 years old. I grew up in the projects, welfare food stamps. So my environment was very rough and it was tough. So the things that I went through as a child and as a male made me who I am. But I can also tell you it made me very protective of my children. That's another reason why I am an advocate for the Epstein victims and release those files.
Release some files. All right.
I'm sorry, I kind of go off on a tangent.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being candid with us. We really appreciate it. I mean, we don't get, it's not often we get candidates who are, speaking from the heart, just completely from the heart. Sometimes we get canned answers. It sounds like you're someone who believes compassion needs to be injected into our healthcare system. And I completely agree. It doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum you're on. That's something we can all agree on, that more compassion is needed.
And that's what people lack today. People lack compassion. People forget. People are so big trying to get to the top that they're stepping on each other to get there. And they don't realize that, you rise, you fall. Life is a cycle. It's a pattern and it repeats itself. Until you can successfully pass that level in your life, you're going to continue to repeat. And I tell my kids, and I told my children over and over again, life is a cycle. And if you get stuck in that adolescent phase of being abused and you never get past that phase, until you conquer that level in your life or that phase or that particular step, you're going to repeat it over and over and over again. So you got to face that demon head on, for lack of a better word. And I know demon is not the right word, but you got to face that challenge. You got to face that problem head on. And until you face it and deal with it, it's going to continue to haunt you.
Correct. Thank you for sharing that with us. We're going to send it over to Joni to talk more about the healthcare system with you.
Okay. Sorry about that, guys. My phone decided to update and not let me delay it. But I'm back. Yeah, so moving on to healthcare and social safety net questions. Texans continue to face high healthcare costs. What specific reforms would you propose to make healthcare more affordable and accessible to working families?
I'm going to go back on that one again. I think I've somewhat answered it. I intend to make sure that healthcare is accessible to everybody through a universal healthcare plan. It's something that Obama started doing a few years ago. When he did back in 2010, Obama set out to make sure that there was a universal healthcare plan. But because the Republicans and Democrats could not come to a bipartisan agreement and come to the middle of the floor, they ended up adopting which was the Obamacare that we all know it to be today with the subsidies. But I intend to fight and to make sure that all people across North America get universal health care. Because even here in Texas, the things that I would do in Texas as a congressman doesn't affect just Texas. It will affect every state across the U.S., regardless, because it is a federal position. So when somebody tells you that, hey, this is just for Texas, they're lying. They're full of BS. The things that Congress does and Senate does, regardless of the state that it starts out in, it is rolled out across all 50 states. And part of getting a universal healthcare plan will affect everybody. And if we can get these plans in place, it makes sure that everybody, regardless of their socioeconomical status, gets the basic care they need on all levels or spectrums, period.
For that, and I would love some universal healthcare here in Texas, and I know a lot of my clients would as well. Many rural areas lack adequate healthcare providers. How would you ensure rural Texans have access to quality medical care close to home?
First and foremost, one to start by repealing that big beautiful bill, or as I call it, the big bitter bill, because the big bitter. Let me back up. When you tax people appropriately and accordingly, you can ensure that rural areas have the things they need. For example, Donald Trump passed a $75 billion permanent tax credit for the wealthy. The wealthy right now pay, let me back up. He gave a $75 billion tax credit permanently for the wealthy. Meanwhile, the working class people are paying the majority of the taxes across America. If we would repeal that $75 billion tax credit that Donald Trump put in place for the billionaires, we could make sure that the working class and the underserved population gets the care that they need in rural areas. So I would make sure that people are being taxed appropriately, starting with the wealthy. Because when we tax the wealthy accordingly and the way that they should be taxed, we can make sure that the working class families and those in the rural areas are getting adequate health care, and hospitals are not having to shut down and reduce care levels because they are not getting the adequate funding through Medicare, Medicaid, or other healthcare programs because our lobbyists and our other congressmen and senators are too busy packing their pockets with money from these other organizations. So that's how that will start for me.
Perfect. Yeah. This last question in this section, you kind of touched on it a little bit already. So you've stated your support for protecting women's reproductive rights.
Yes.
How would you work across party lines to defend access to women's health care?
First and foremost, speaking as a medical professional, no legislate a woman's. I want to say this politically correct because the other side of me want to come out. It is not appropriate for lobbying or for executive branches or senators or Congress to tell a woman what to do with her body. What a woman should do with her body is between her and her physician. Period. The end. Because you don't see them telling men what to do with their body or their body parts. So for that reason, I think that there needs to be clear rules. Personally, I believe the Constitution lays out a woman's right to adequately make decisions for her body. Because under the Constitution, when it says you have the right to equal and fair protection, to me, that includes your health care and your right to make decisions for your body as a woman. And no body of government has the authority or the right to tell you what you cannot do. Because when you do that, you have women getting care in places that they shouldn't get care in, which then puts them at risk and the unborn child at risk. But when you make sure that women are allowed to have autonomy about their bodies and how they take care of their bodies, then you don't have these things happening in back parts of the city or the country. So I would again, make sure that women have the right that they had, because before they reversed Roe versus Wade ensured that women had the right to make decisions about their body. Period. The end. And we need to repeal that and put that back on the books. Because nobody, no man and or legislative body should have the right to tell a woman what to do with her body.
Thank you for that. I definitely agree. Were there any questions in the comments?
We did have a question from the audience. Nookie, hello.
Hello, you guys. Let me move somewhere quiet. All right. So my question is, as we are seeing a rise in mental health illness, would you push for legislation that would mandate kids to have a therapist?
Well, that's a catch-22 for me, because one, I believe that parents have the right to make those decisions for their children. Because part of the problem I think right now is you got the government telling people how to take care of their children. You got legislative and lobbyists writing rules about parenting when most of them don't even have children. One. So you can't tell to me, how can you tell a parent what to do or what kind of care to give for their children when you don't have kids? You don't even understand. But I do think that children should have the right and have access to therapists and mental health issues and care, period. I think it should start early. But again, I think that is a decision that should be best left to the parents and not the government.
Thank you.
I hope I answered his question, guys. I watched our government turn into an entity that wants to tell parents how to parent their children, and half of them don't have kids. You can't tell me nothing about raising my children if you've never had kids. I've seen people write books. Do this, do that. Give Johnny this, give Johnny that. If you don't have kids, sit down and shut up and get back in the corner somewhere. Because it's different, guys. Raising children is different. And if you've never raised a child, then you don't understand the stress and the struggle that a parent goes through to provide for their children. And though I'm not saying that raising children is easy, and it is one of the hardest jobs in the world, but what makes it harder and what makes it even harder to do is when you have people trying to tell you how to parent your children when they've never had children or never raised a child. Now, you can raise children and have never given birth to it, because some people have to raise their siblings because their parent passed on or something happened. They have to raise their siblings. That's a different scenario. But you can't tell somebody how to raise children if you've never raised children.
And there aren't any right or wrong answers. There's just the best answer. You're giving based on your experience. You're a father and a grandfather, so you know what you're talking about. So I would defer to you. I would defer to somebody who has done it versus someone who hasn't done it when it comes to who holds the most responsibility when it comes to how these kids.
I'm gonna tap into an area that I know is very taboo, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I'm going to tap on LGBT. Right now, this is a hot arena with kids and the transgendering and the transgender care. That is a decision to be made between the parents, the doctor. It is not something for the government to decide. I don't care if the parents want to have that conversation with their children and they want to make a decision that they think is in the best interest of their child. Regardless of what you or I think, that is not a decision for us to make. It is for the parents. All I want is what is in the best interest of that child. And generally, the only person who knows what's in the best interest of that child is the parents raising that child and maybe the physician that's taking part in that child's care. I think the rate of unaliving is high right now amongst young children because they're not allowed to express who they are or how they feel. Because of the community and society in which they're being raised and brought up in. And I touch that very lightly because how I feel personally may be different than how the next person feels. So I have to defer that back to their parents. Because again, some things I do think that I'm going to say this at 3 or 4 years old, I don't think the kid necessarily knows what they want or who they are at 3 or 4 versus a kid coming to me at 13 or 14 and saying, hey, I think I'm LGBT. That's a different conversation to have with a 12-year-old or 13-year-old versus a 3-year-old or 4-year-old or 5-year-old, because I have seen it on TV where I've had parents say, well, little Johnny wanted to be Joanne at 4 or 5 years old. I'm not sure that little Johnny or little Joanne knows at 4 or 5 that that's the route they want to go, because they're still going through that identity role in their life and trying to figure out who they are. And at 4 and 5, you don't know that. And when a kid tells me at 4 or 5 that I am transgender, I approach that on a very different place, because I don't think that a 5-year-old or a 4-year-old knows, one, the proper words to use. When they're telling me words like transgender at 5 and 6, I'm not sure they know that at that age to have that conversation with me. But if you're 12 or you're 13, you're 14, and you're having that conversation with me as a therapist or as a counselor, or saying, hey, this is how I feel and this is why, that has some credibility versus when you're having that conversation with a 4-year-old or 5-year-old. And we've seen it, guys. It's been on TV where they were suing on TV because their 4-year-old wanted to come to school in a dress and he was a boy and he wanted to come to school as a girl. my responses are different. This is why I have to say some things I have to defer back to the parent up to a certain age. I'm sorry, I had to get off on that.
Thank you, Nookie. Bye, Nookie.
Yeah, I can't drop him for some reason. Okay, there he goes.
Okay, we're going to move on to the rapid fire questions, Joni.
Yeah, okay. So these are going to be the political questions. One word answer: education, healthcare, or climate. Which need is more urgent?
I'm going to say healthcare.
Okay,
Healthcare is going to be my number one.
I gotcha. What's the most overlooked issue in your district?
Mental health.
I agree. If you could pass one law tomorrow, what would it be?
Universal healthcare.
Okay. What's a policy area where compromise is essential?
Compromise is essential in a lot of things. That's going to be kind of hard to say because everything to me falls in a compromise. No, not everything. Ask me that one more time. Let me just focus. Ask me one more time. My brain is going in 10 different directions.
Just list off a policy area that where compromise is essential. Any policy area.
Healthcare.
All right. And what's one reform you think is long overdue?
Taxes. We need a tax reform because this tax system is not right.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you. Okay. Moving on to equality, inclusion, and justice. Ayana?
Ken, you committed to ending systemic inequities. What specific federal policies would you advocate for to promote fairness and equal opportunity?
Well, that's a tough one. Because to me, in our justice system, the way it's currently written, and the way it currently is, there's two sets of rules. There's one for them and there's one for us. And I would honestly have to advocate or have some kind of legislation that there should not be two sets of rules for justice. What applies to one should apply to all, not two separate standards. So I would have to say I would start there because I've sat in the courtrooms and I've watched black kids go up for a crime that a white kid went up for the same one, and the black kid went to jail and the white kid went home. And they're not comparing apples. They're not. I mean, you're getting the same situations, but a different outcome. And I just think that our judicial system is biased and it's very racially divided. And we need a judicial system that is fair for everyone, not just some.
Okay. What would you do to encourage dialogue and unity among the different communities and cultural groups within your district?
Unity, I would say it starts by all coming together, with a basic understanding. If we can all come together with a basic understanding that one, we are all people at the end of the day. We all have needs. If we can understand that, I think we can overcome most adversities.
All right. I wanted to ask you this, but they're pressing me for this time, honey. They got their foot on my neck. Okay, we'll move on. Public education in schools. Let's go.
All right. So many public schools in Texas, they struggle with overcrowding, underfunding, of course, and teacher shortages. So what specific steps would you take in Congress to ensure that every student, regardless of zip code, has access to quality education?
First and foremost, we need to reverse this crap that Donald Trump just did with the Department of Education. It needs to be reversed and put back in place. Reversing it, putting it back in place ensures that all children, regardless of zip codes, are getting proper education and proper care. Because, for example, you have autistic kids. And with autistic kids not getting care, healthcare it crosses over into education. And when I use that to say, autistic kids sometimes require nurses to be there with them. There are special needs. There are special need children that you cannot do the way things are set today, because we have things like, and I know this is not such a dry cut and simple answer. Education is important, and I know it starts there, but it needs to be oversaw in Washington the way it was originally set up back in 1979 with the Department of Education, and with federal oversight ensuring that all children are getting proper education and not being discriminated against because of race or color or creed or ethnicity. Two, we need to go back and make sure that, one, classrooms are overcrowded because we got things like what Greg Abbott is doing in Texas. Greg Abbott is taking public school funds and using it for private school vouchers. When you have them doing these types of things in a public school system, taking the money out of the public schools to put it into a private school, it hurts the public school system. It causes teachers to work with less. It causes the children to starve in classrooms because they're not getting fed breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Because one, Greg Abbott just vetoed a summer feeding program this past summer where the kids were not being fed properly because he vetoed those programs. Two, when you're taking funds out of a public school system and diverting them to a private school system, you have larger classrooms. You have less resources. The things that you don't need, the things that you need, you're not getting. You're getting old books. You're not getting resources, guys. Period. The end. When you take resources out of a public school system and you put it into a private school system, you're hurting our children. You're denying them quality public education, period. I know that's a layered area, and I know we're tied to constraints, but that's so stacked.
I feel the same. Okay, and the last question in this subject. Teachers, of course, are leaving the profession at alarming rates due to low pay and lack of resources. Probably going to be even more so with these newer policies. How would you work to raise teacher salaries, improve classroom conditions, and support programs that help students thrive academically and emotionally?
First and foremost, I would make sure that we have more funding on a federal level redirected back to the public schools, to the states for public school system, to ensure that teachers' salaries are brought up to a national level. Because right now, for example, in Texas, the average teacher is making $50,000 a year. But on a national level, teachers are making around $70,000. So there needs to be a national level established across the board, bringing all teachers up to a certain national level in pay. Two, with increased funding, you can ensure smaller classrooms. You can ensure that there are additional resources brought into play. Because when it is federally appropriated by Congress, then that means the states have no choice or no option but to implement those programs. And if we are increasing funding and we are legislating certain things that must happen in each area, in each state, and each school district, then that takes it out of the hands of people like Greg Abbott to ensure that our children are, one, being fed, two, getting adequate supplies, teachers being paid properly, they having necessary resources, whether it's school nurses, whether it's teachers' aides. If you federally mandate those programs and you congressionally appropriate funds accordingly, they must follow.
All right, perfect. Let's see if there were any questions. I think I saw a question in the chat. If elected, what specific steps would you take in policy and in policy enforcement?
That's broad. Can you narrow that down a little bit? Because policy enforcement could go criminal justice, it could be education, it could be healthcare policy enforcement. That's so broad. If you could break it down for me as to which one you want me to focus on, because it could be a healthcare policy, it could be a judicial Justice Department policy.
It looks like infrastructure. It says the next part of the question says, or infrastructure to reduce wrong way crashes and keep the roads safer. Does Texas have an issue with this?
Yeah.
DUIs, driving under the influence. There's already a lot of federal mandates, a lot like speed limits and things are done on a federal level. Now, the road signs in each individual city is left up to the states and the counties and how they do those things. But there is already a federal mandate in place that says if you are within a city zone, the speed limits cannot be above this particular area. You can go below, but you can never go above the federal mandate of a speed limit, which those are federally set across with maps and road signs and interstates. So that's already there. I would say from a point of, we have the Department of Transportation, which is a federal program. It sounds like there need to be more oversight in making sure that those funds are being correctly used and not being used in other areas or reappropriated to other areas where they're not supposed to be. Because that is happening a lot in Texas, where Abbott has taken funds that were appropriated federally for transportation, for roads and highways, potholes, things to be fixed on like Interstate 10, Interstate 20, that they're not being done and used correctly. So I would say if those funds are congressionally appropriated and they're not being used, then the lawmakers that are taking those funds and using them for something else need to be held accountable. And that's not what's happening. We don't have accountability in Texas, or in a lot of states for that matter right now.
That is an issue. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joni.
I was just gonna say, I just wanted to point out that I think they've been working on I-35 for
10 years?
yeah.
But in that time, Abbott has been in office about 12 years as governor, and a lot of funds that were sent to Texas from Washington for road repair and road construction and repair and freeways and all those things, Abbott has used and averted those funds to other things because he felt that was within his discretionary abilities to do so, and he actually was not. And so when Trump came into office, Trump went back and repealed a lot of those laws, writing executive orders, which ain't worth the paper they're written on, to try and give people like Abbott buffers, even though they use funds inappropriately.
That's an issue that we see in a lot of states. You're right about grant money that's earmarked for specific projects, even for things like SNAP, Medicaid, that are misappropriated. And Congress holds the power of the purse. Congress is who says who gets the money, where it goes, how much. And Congress, it seems like they're just pushing buttons.
Advocated all of their powers over to Trump.
Yes.
There is no checks and balance. It is given under the Constitution that Congress holds the power of the purse. Congress writes the laws, okay? The executive branch is supposed to carry them out. Then there's the judicial branch. So there's 3 different checks and balances in place that are not being done. And right now you got the House and you got the Senate, and everybody's just giving all their power over to Trump and allowing him to do what he wants when he wants. And that's not the way it was designed. You cannot appropriate the powers of the purse over to the president. The Constitution does not allow those things to be done. And finally, the Supreme Court is finally reaching up and saying, hey, wait, no, you cannot do that. You cannot give Trump your powers of the purse. That's not allowed under the Constitution. So finally, we have the Supreme Court doing the things that they're supposed to be doing, finally saying, hey, you can't do this.
So what do you think Congress needs to do to make sure the money goes to where it's supposed to go to? Because once it goes to the states, that's it.
What Congress is supposed to be doing, one, is holding them. Congress has the ability, one of Congress's power is accountability. We have the ability to bring charges or articles of impeachment up. When elected officials are not using funds appropriately, even if it's on a state level, we have the ability to charge those people with crimes and with acts of malfeasance and inappropriateness. So that's a power that Congress has. And because Congress is not doing that, they're advocating those powers to Donald Trump. So now you have state level elected officials misappropriating funds.
Malfeasance.
I couldn't have said it either. I was trying to use a politically correct word, but yes, you got a lot of malfeasance across levels of government because they have done things illegally. But in Congress, I would make sure that there is accountability. Whether it's the president, whether it's the next congressman next to me, or a senator. If you are not upholding your constitutional powers or your responsibilities under the Constitution, then you don't need to be in office. You need to be discharged and relieved of your duties.
All
which
right.
is what Trump needs right now.
Okay. All right. Politics aside for just a moment. More rapid fire questions. These are going to be fun though. These are fun and these are Texas based. So I hope you are up on your Texan stuff.
Let's go.
I'm from Ohio, so I don't know the answers to any of these. Barbecue brisket or Tex-Mex tacos?
Barbecue brisket.
Oh, okay. Cowboys or Longhorns?
Really? I'm a Cowboy fan for life. I go back to when Emmitt Smith was playing. Cowboys.
I have a friend who's from San Antonio, and every week he posts the most awful memes about the Cowboys, and I can't relate because I'm a Cleveland Browns fan, and everybody makes fun of us.
My son my son was not a Cowboys fan, right? So one day he went to school. I went to Walmart. I bought him a Cowboys blanket, Cowboys shirt, curtains, Cowboy blanket, Cowboy curtain, Cowboy pictures, and put it all over his wall in his room and redecorated his whole room in Cowboys. He said, "Really, Pops? Really?" Hey, this is a Cowboys house.
What is your favorite Texas festival or fair?
I don't really have one. I don't really have one. I do like the Texas State Fair. I like the corn dogs. But I would say the Texas State Fair is probably the favorite one I like to do.
What's the best hidden gem in your district?
I would say there's this in my district, there's this little place that sells pupusas. I love El Salvadorian. And there's this little spot that sells El Salvadorian pupusas. And I would go there most of the time and eat if I could. Until there's this new restaurant. I like Reggio Pollo too. Now they got some good chicken. You ever been to Reggio Pollo? That chicken? Baby, it's good. And they got one over there by they got this new spot I went to, and it's El Pollo or something. But they be roasting the chickens in front of you. They take it down and cut it up in front of you and put it on your plate. And it's right across from the Grand Plaza. It's right across the street from the Grand Plaza, right here in Fort Worth. So I like my Mexican food.
First of all, briefly, what is a pupusa? Remember, I am from Cleveland. I have no idea what you're saying, what these words are.
You know what a meat pie is, right?
Yes.
Like a meat pie. A pupusa is basically like taking tortillas and putting meat, bean, and cheese in the middle, and then you like fry it on both sides with cheese, and it sticks together. Delicious. So it's basically a meat pie, but it's just a Mexican version of it. With bean, cheese, and like pork or chicken inside the middle of it, and it's kind of cooked together.
Okay, I can be down with a meat pie.
That's basically what it is. That's the best way I know to explain it to you, but they're good. And you can eat it with cabbage. You take some cabbage, and then you have jalapenos in the cabbage with the juice, and you put the sauce on top, and you eat it with your hands. It's a hand dish.
There's a lot of good Mexican food.
Thanks a lot.
But don't get it twisted. I love chicken too. Don't let the black side food. Don't let it fool you. I like chicken.
All right, we're going to move on to local issues and constituent focus. Wait a minute. Somebody said something in the chat. I think it was Alice. She said, eat these. What is eat these? Or the rodeo. Alice knows all these little spots. Alice is from Texas. She knows.
I don't know what eat these is. I've never heard of that one.
She knows all these spots. I probably didn't even pronounce it correctly.
That's Salvadorian, though. I see that down here in the corn patties with some kind of filling. It's Salvadorian. Yeah.
All right. Many Texans feel their local concerns, and you have touched on this, from road repairs to job creation, are often ignored in Washington. How would you ensure that the needs of your district are always front and center in your decision making?
I'm going to put it this way. Y'all seen Jasmine Crockett. You know, she got a loud mouth and she's always heard, right? Well, until they seen a black man with a loud mouth, they ain't seen nothing yet. So I make a lot of noise. Jasmine Crockett ain't got E on Kenneth. I'm going to put it that way. My mouth will not be heard. I will not be ignored. And part of me having that loud mouth black man with that Mexican side, we ain't going to shut up. I ain't stopping. You're going to hear what I got to say. And if you ain't listening, we going on TV. You know I ain't lying.
You're not lying. That's why I'm laughing.
See, I got the best of both worlds. You got that black, you got that Mexican, Latino. You put it all together. That's a hell of a force to be reckoned with.
But you know, Jasmine Crockett is my representative, and I would vote for her every single election if I could.
And you know what? But you won't ignore her district, though, will you? Because you will see her on TV. She's on the TikTok live last night Jasmine
Yeah.
give her that camera in a minute, and she gonna tell you what she got to say, and she ain't gonna hold no punches back. So imagine that and put me with her. You hit my mouth here, you know I kind of want to get loose. If you've ever seen any of my TikToks or my live, my videos, I get crunk and I kind of just let it go. And so if you've ever seen me go, put me and her together. It's a hell of a force to be reckoned with. That's all I can say.
Have you met her?
I've met her a couple of times. I've met her a few times, but not since I've started my campaign. I haven't talked to her. I met her before then.
Okay. Is she
But I
something you're trying to get on
want
your
to get with her
side?
though. I want to get with her. I also like Isaiah down in Houston. I was really sad that he didn't win. I just knew Isaiah in Houston was going to get that. But when you had 18 people, I know you on personal time, but guys, I want to say something. I am all for democracy, but when you have 18 Democrats running for the same seat, all that does is dilute the vote and dilutes the power of the movement. Because what should be happening, or what used to happen, is if you had 10 people wanting to run as a Democrat on one ticket in the same district, you all got together and you figured out who the strongest candidate was, and everybody supported that one strong candidate. Because had we done that in Houston, in that District 18 where they were running at, guys, we wouldn't have a runoff right now. Right now, because of that, you got over 800,000 people in that district in Houston not being represented right now because of that. But if we would have had one Democrat on the ticket going up against one Republican on the ticket, and whoever had majority of the vote, 50% or more, would have gotten the seat. We wouldn't be having a runoff now, because now we got to have a runoff. Now we got to redo this again. And so that just means it's going to be months longer before the people in that district gets a voice in Washington. Greg Abbott doesn't care because he's Republican. He don't care. That's why he put the runoff. He pushed the runoff to like the end of January 31st. God, again, we need to look at what we're doing. And I'm not trying to undermine democracy, but when you got 18 people running as a Democrat in one district for one seat, it really dilutes the power and the voice, and it hurts the movement.
Gotcha. I agree. I agree. Absolutely. And finally, Texas's 12th district includes both growing cities and rural communities, like many districts. How would you balance urban expansion with protecting small town values and resources?
I would say by doing a couple of things. I believe in hosting town halls. By reaching out and being seen in those communities and talking to the people that live in those communities, you find out what those communities need. And when you find out what they need through hosting those town halls and interacting, you can go back to Washington and fight and lobby for the things that your community needs. And those needs are neglected right now because the current congressman does not get out and talk to those people. Craig Goldman has no idea what the people in those, like in Weatherford, need. Hazlitt, Azle, because those are rural communities. He don't go out and talk to those people. He don't know what they need. But if he would get out and go out and canvass those communities and talk to those people, he could find out what they need and go back and fight for those things in those communities. You got to get out and you got to talk to your people to find out what they need. You can't do that sitting behind a country club resort where he is in downtown Fort Worth right now, in a private exclusive resort where you can't get to him.
All right, I'm going to send it over to Joni for our closing questions. All right, Joni, take it away.
Yes, okay. So, what sets you apart from the other candidates running in your primary?
What sets me apart from the other candidates in primary currently is, one, I'm running as a grassroots candidate and a working class person. Because I grew up poor, I understand what it's like to be poor, welfare, food stamps. I understand the struggle. We need people in Washington that understands the struggle. And that makes me different from other candidates. Because one, if you don't understand my struggle, excuse the language, how in the hell can you represent me in Washington? And because I understand that struggle, because I grew up poor, I was a single parent. I was a parent at 15 years of age. I had 5 kids. I'm now a grandfather. Because I know that struggle, that means I understand where they're coming from. And that makes my fight for them 10 times hard. Not harder, but it makes me go harder for them because I understand that struggle. Period.
I agree. All right. And
Can I inject something in here real quick? We got some breaking news. The Associated Press is reporting that the Supreme Court has temporarily blocked the lower court ruling against using the gerrymandered maps.
Nah, that ain't happened. Where did you get that from? That's where did that?
Oh, listen. The order, which was signed by Justice Samuel Alito, whom we all know and love, will remain in place for at least the next few days while the court considers if the new map can be used in the midterm elections in 2026.
So that means the 2021 map is still in place for now.
For now, but it might not be.
Well, we knew they were going to appeal. But what Alito is saying in that ruling is that we're still going to use 2021 maps.
Well, the issue is that they're saying, and this has happened in Ohio too, that it might be too close to the election to strike down the new map. That they might just have to go with the new map because the primaries are coming up quickly, and then we have the primary election. I mean, the general election, and so it's too soon to say no. You can't use this newly drawn map. Which is how they got away with it in Ohio.
See, I don't think they're going to be able to do it. I just have to sit back and watch. I'm confident that 2021 maps will stay in play. Because we got less than 30 days before the deadline ends. So in order to change it now, it would miss Nah. You want to put a bet on that? You want to wager? I love to. This is Texas. We can wager.
I don't bet, sir. I am a believing woman. I don't bet.
I don't think that it will happen because if Justice, I'm gonna say this for two reasons. Last week, the Supreme Court was hearing the case from Louisiana, on the gerrymandered redistricting from Louisiana, and the Supreme Court told the state of Louisiana a new butthole. They tore them up on that map and said they were not going to allow them to gerrymander the black and brown community. One. And this came from the United States Supreme Court just a few days ago, last week, when they was having a live hearing on the news. So because the Supreme Court is taking that stance with Louisiana, saying that no, you cannot do that. You cannot do that to the black and brown communities in Louisiana. They got to keep those two black districts in place. I cannot see Justice Alito now allowing the new maps to move forward because of what they just got to doing in Louisiana. So I don't think so. That's why otherwise Alito would have banned the 2021 maps and put 2025 back in place. He didn't. Even in that order I'm reading, he said he's going to let it stand while he decides.
Yes.
So that means the 2021 maps are still in play.
And I think maybe they're going to wait until they do the Louisiana case too, until they announce that to see if what they're going to do with Texas, because they haven't announced Louisiana yet. So
essentially that means we're still the ban that he put in place. That means the ban that's in place, banning the 2025 maps, remain in effect, and we're still under 2021 maps. So see, I'm still good.
I like your attitude. Okay, let's go with that. Let's be positive. Let's be hopeful. I got you. Okay, Joni, I totally interrupted you. I apologize. Go ahead. Finish.
So moving on to a personal motivation. You've served your country, your community, and your family in many roles as a veteran, a father, and a nonprofit leader. So what inspired you to take the step from service to public office? And how do those life experiences shape your vision for leadership?
Well, because one of my famous mottos is you reap what you sow. And when you do right by people, God smiles on you. And because I believe when you treat people right and you do right by people, you're blessed. And because of the things that I've been through in life, and I feel like I could be a better and a greater benefit to others in Congress, that's why I decided to run. And because I will continue to do right by people, I believe God will continue to bless me in my path so that me and the people that I represent will continue to, do well and thrive.
Oh, wow. Marjorie Taylor Greene just announced she's resigning from Congress on January 5th. What is happening?
Because she want to run for Senate, remember? You can't run for Senate and be in the House. You have to resign that position in order to run.
All right. There's too much going on. I'm overstimulated.
Yeah, she want to run. That's all that's about. We knew that because if you watched her MO, she's completely shifted her views to be more conservative or liberal slash where she thinks, oh no,
More
healthcare is
centrist.
important.
She's more centrist now in the last couple weeks. So, I mean, you're seeing all of these changes in real time. If you could leave the people of the Texas's 12th district with one message about who you are and why you're running, what would you want them to remember about you when they head to the polls?
That I am no better than them. That I'm no better than them. I'm an everyday working class guy just like they are. That's what I would want them to know about me, that I am just a regular guy. I am not a politician.
That's the string I see that has been holding your entire this entire discussion together. You've really weaved that throughout. I like that. And could you, for the people, let them know how they can find you and support your campaign?
All right, guys. Well, first of all, my website is www.kennethforcongress2026.com, which she got it right there behind you. Or you can go to my TikTok page, and there's a link in my bio, which will take you to a link tree, which will take you to my Facebook, my Instagram, my YouTube channel. And it'll take you to my website. So it'll give you all my social media platforms, and you will have multiple ways to find me. Yeah, I think I just answered that. My mind went blank.
They can donate to your campaign through your website.
Correct. Through my website, guys. If you go to the link in my bio, it'll also take you to my ActBlue. And there, when you can click the link in the ActBlue, which is a secure, safe website where you can donate to the campaign. And if you can't afford to donate, I say, hey, you know what? If you want to volunteer, we accept volunteers. You can follow me on my website, on my kennethforcongress.com, and there's a link you can drop to sign up to be a volunteer. Or if you can't do that, guys, and you just show for time and you show for cash because times are hard, you can also just like, share, and follow my TikTok page and help share my message out. Because if you follow my TikTok page, that also gets my message out on people's For You page. And they can, in turn, see my content that I post weekly about my campaign. And I post things about healthcare and minimum wage, universal healthcare, childcare. So everything that you want to know about me, you can find on my TikTok in a video. And this is another way for people to actually get to know me and find out what I am all about. So again, if you cannot donate, if you do not actually have time to volunteer, then please like, share, and follow my pages.
That is correct. A good social media presence and name recognition is very important when you're out there in a sea of dozens of candidates. Also, they want me to remind you, or I don't know if you know about this, we have a candidate roundtable on Sunday at 3:00, and you're welcome to join.
Send me the link. I'll join. I don't have anything going on Sunday. I'm doing a food drive for the homeless Saturday, tomorrow morning, but Sunday, there's nothing going on. I'll gladly come join. Send me the link and I'll join.
I was just about to ask if there was a football game, but then I remembered that the Cowboys play.
Don't start nothing. No, maybe come to Ohio. I get on Trump's jet and fly there. Be there quick. Hey, if Cash Patel can fly his 26-year-old girlfriend around on government jet, why can't I get on a plane and come to Ohio to see you?
Right, that is so true.
I know that was shade. I'm sorry.
You are hilarious. I absolutely love you. I have had such a fun time talking to you. If you want to stick around, we have another town hall at 9:00.
Real 9 o'clock? Is it 9 o'clock? You're talking about my time. You got me earlier.
It's 9:00. It's 9:00 Eastern Standard Time. So in about 14 minutes with Oliver Ma, who is running for Lieutenant Governor of California. So that'll be 9:00 Eastern Standard Time, 8 p.m. Central. That's Central your time, right?
Oh, you gonna throw that? Oh, now you want to throw the shade back at me? Oh, okay, I got you.
Shade? I know shade, Doctor. No, absolutely not.
I'll come back in. I'll come back in.
Thank you. I appreciate it. We love having candidates stick around and see other candidates get roasted.
Yeah,
ask the tough questions.
Y'all just didn't let me cut up today like I wanted to. It's all right.
You know what? We like to keep it light around here. It's a family program, really.
I'm a country boy. I don't do rats. I do rats and roasts. I grew up with them. We be cooking that chicken and frying the grease. We just pick it out the flour and grease, and then it's hot enough. My mom said that grease is hot, boy. Better move them roaches and keep going with that grease. Let me stop. We recycle cooking grease. You do before. You know what I'm talking about.
You keep
You
it
pour the
real.
roaches out the grease and you heat it up, let it get real hot, and you keep going.
You keep it real and you keep it true, and we love that. We appreciate that about you. We have had such a fun night tonight with you. We appreciate it so much, Ken. Thank you for sharing.
I'll pop in a little while. I'm gonna go eat some. I made some smothered meatballs. So I'm gonna eat some
Oh.
smothered meatballs with rice. I made some zucchini. I'm finna go eat, and then I will come back in.
All right. We look forward to seeing you again, for joining us for the roundtable. We would love to have you again. Thank you to the audience for participating tonight, for the questions, for sticking around, for liking, for sharing, for gifting, and for just listening to Ken's platform and for expressing your thoughts to us, Ken. We really appreciate it. Again, come back in a few minutes for our next town hall. Remember, Our Vote Counts is a nonpartisan movement, Florida, uniting Americans from all walks of life to empower voters, support candidates of integrity, and ensure every voice is heard through education, outreach, accountability, and action. We are building a stronger democracy, one informed vote at a time. Thank you for joining us. Remember, your vote is your power. Have a good night, everyone.
Stay safe, guys, and see you shortly.
Thank you. Yes! That was so much fun. Oh my gosh. I love his energy. I just absolutely love his energy. I love the toughness. I have been saying for so long, we need more tough souls, tough bodies, tough, strong, intelligent people in the House of Representatives, in the Senate, in the presidency. Not somebody who's gonna, tear things up, but somebody who's just gonna just get in there and just work hard and be real. And I really like that. When you are real and true to yourself, you're better for the people than somebody who's just pretending, who's just there going through the motions. So if you all are thinking of skipping the primaries, don't do it. Don't do it. Because when you skip the primaries, you miss out on voting on great candidates like Ken and Oliver Ma, who's coming up, and all of the candidates we have featured this week. We have been talking to candidates since September, and they're all running mostly for their primary. Primary season starts in February, I believe, or is it March? Early voting starts in February in California, I think. I can't be sure.
Texas, I want to say it, because our primary is in March.
Okay, so early voting is starting very soon. It'll be here before you know it. If you are unsure if you are registered to vote, please check your registration. There are websites you can go to. You can go to your local board of elections. You can go to your state, your secretary of state. There's also another website. I cannot think of the name, but please check your registration. Sometimes you are kicked off the rolls and you don't even know it, but you want to be registered for these primaries. You do not want to skip the primaries. Please, whatever you do, don't skip the primaries. They are very important. This is where we take the field of sometimes 20. I know there's like 50 people right now running for California governor. That's when we take that large field and we narrow it down to 2 or 3 candidates for the general election. And people always say when they get to the general election, how come I see the same old names on the ballot? How come I don't see any new names? It's because people did not vote for a new name to win in the primaries. Primaries are notoriously not well attended, especially where I live at in Northeast Ohio. It can be embarrassing sometimes. I want people to show up for these primaries. In Ohio, you can vote by mail. You can vote early at the Board of Elections. You can vote on election day. The polls are open for 12 hours on election day. If you need somebody to help you get to the polls, those options are available, but please do not skip this very important part of the voting process. That first Tuesday in November is not the first day to vote. It's not. There are elections that are being held throughout the year in your state, in your county, in your city sometimes. You have to show up for all of these things to support your democracy, to support this republic, to keep it going. You want to keep this going. You want to see your candidates in office. Not only that, we've seen candidates of integrity like Dr. Morgan-Aguilera. And yesterday, who did we have yesterday? I can't remember the name. We've talked to so many people, but no, stay up and talk until the next hour.
I wanted to make sure I wasn't taking Yoli's space because I know this is gonna be her chance to shine.
Oh, that's right. Tonight is Yoli's first night too. Oh, I can't wait. I'm so excited. But I just wanted to, Joni, how do you feel about voting in the primaries? Is that something that's fun for you or no?
You know, I'm gonna be honest with you. I have never done it before because I didn't know it was an option until, well, my first election was whenever Beto was running against, I think it was either Cruz or Abbott. Was he running for governor or Senate?
He ran for Senate. He did. He ran against Ted Cruz. He did.
Ted Cruz. Okay, that was my first election in 2018, and then I started voting. So I thought that the primaries were something that each party did on their own.
Well, there you go. Now you know. Primary is very important. Okay, we're going to drop off for the evening. Thank you, Jazz and Yoli, for letting us take over a little bit of your time. We really appreciate it. We love you guys so much. We will see you tomorrow. Is that how you do it? All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night. And sorry for the technical issues, by the way.
Oh, you're all right.
Good job, you all.
Thanks.
Good job, Ayana. Good job, Joni. See you later.
Great job, ladies.
Hello, Yolanda.
Hello, Jazz.
How are you?
Good. Can you hear me? Am I
Yes,
low?
we can hear
Okay.
you. No, we can hear your audio is good. How's everybody doing? Thank you all for being here. We came up a little bit early so it can be a smooth transition before we bring up the next candidate. So, how is everybody doing today? I did break the news in the chat that MTG just announced that she will be resigning from Congress effective January 5th. So how do you all feel about that?
I love it.
Now, to me, that's interesting. Due to she had an interest in running for Senate, and then the debacle of some of the things that transpired with the vote, with the e-files, and her spat with the president. So honestly, I didn't see it coming. So that definitely threw me for a loop. Because typically, whenever someone does officially run for a seat, they will eventually give up their seat automatically because they can't hold their seat while they're running. So you have to automatically give up your seat. But in this case, she didn't get the endorsement. I think he pulled her endorsement away. That's funny with the turkey. So I believe she did. From what I understand, maybe you all can correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. I think she's no longer running in the Senate. So I think altogether, maybe she just doesn't want to be in Congress anymore because of the split with the party in Congress. A lot of them are not in favor of her going against the president. So I think, in my opinion, that's what's going on.
Well, I think she did also want to get new voters. I know that they were agreeing with some of the stuff that she's saying now. So
Yeah. Thank you all for the gifts. Absolutely. And I think this was already planned. I don't think this was anything that she abruptly made a decision on. Hence why she did this media buzz, going to different outlets and different shows to talk about her stance and trying to rebrand herself to a certain degree. I think this was in the works once she decided to break ranks from her party on different things that they stood for. I actually saw it coming when the whole deliberation with the BBB, the big beautiful bill, so to speak. So I saw that, even though she did vote for it, I think she realized when she actually read the particulars of what was going on in the bill, she didn't like it. It was going to affect her constituents in her district. So then she voiced her opinion to say, this is going to affect a lot of people in my district. I don't like it. And of course, any slight criticism of anything on that side of the aisle, they will oust you. It's just unfortunate, but it happens. And I think that is the temperature that she's experiencing right now. She's also voiced some issues with getting unaliving threats. A lot of people have been swatting her home. Yes,
Which,
and my personally, I don't care for, I don't really have any favor for her, but I can empathize with her getting swatting and unaliving threats on
which
behalf
is,
of the fact that she's speaking out.
yeah, which is crazy because it just now started and she's been saying some crazy stuff about
Yes,
the other side, and they didn't do that to her. So them doing it to her now says a lot.
absolutely. And it just shows the character. Like you can't even have any type of pushback with your party. On the other side, with the Democratic Party, there are so many factions within the Democratic Party itself. It's not out of the ordinary for you to disagree with anybody on your side. They're not going to just go in full force and just try to completely ruin you. Where it seems like on this side, any slight criticism, then they just say, hey, you're just Republican in name only. So it's just ridiculous, but that is just the climate of what we're dealing with right now in politics.
Definitely. Yeah. It's crazy.
Thank you all for the gifts. Y'all, oh, that is pretty. Thank you. All right, so be sure to continue on tapping alive. Let's keep us in the algorithm right now. So far, we have about 241 shares. Let's see if we can get to about 275 in the next 20 minutes. A share counts as if you copy the link, if you share it to anyone via text, via within the app in their inbox. Those also count as a share. So be sure to go ahead so we can hit that goal of 275.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you for the gifts, everybody. I'm
Yes.
so excited about Oliver. I can't wait to talk to him. You know, I got some questions for him being in
Looks like
Cali.
this is the second person. Isn't this the second person we've interviewed so far? I know the first one was somebody who was running for governor, but this time he is running for lieutenant. So this is, it looks like this is a long bench from what I've seen thus far of people
Yeah.
tapping in to want to run for governor or lieutenant governor. From what I saw, you have Katie Porter, you have Eric Swalwell now jumping into the race. So that is interesting to see. That is a long bench. And to me, from what I've learned with California, you all have what's considered to be a jungle primary. So everybody in the primaries on both parties or independent, all are in that pool. And whomever is the top two of the most votes in that primary goes into the general election. So if two Republicans come out with the top two of the votes, that goes to general election, or if it's a Democrat or Republican, either one, whomever is the top two goes into the general election.
Yes. And I know we're nonpartisan, so I can't say who I want, but
Yeah. But I like jungle primaries. I've seen that not only with California, but I've seen that in Louisiana as well. So I like that. I think does New York? I don't think that. No, New York has a form of ranked choice voting. That's what they have, but it's similar
okay.
with their voting system in New York. So that is interesting as well. Okay, so Fashionable Fine said that they like Eric Swalwell.
I think as
So for
long as
those,
they're not MAGA, then we'll see.
yeah, there's a long list. So from what I see, who has jumped in the race thus far, is a lot of people, as I said before. And let's see. Yeah, they said it's a list of people thus far that have jumped into the race. Tom Steyer just announced a couple days ago that he's running for the California bid. A lot of people are not familiar with Tom Steyer. He actually jumped into the race in 2020 on the Democratic side. If you're not familiar with him, he is, from what I understand, he's a self-made millionaire. From what I remember, the last time he was in the race running for president back in 2020. So now he's placed his bid to run in the California gubernatorial race. So that will be interesting. I just mentioned Eric Swalwell. Who else? Because, of course, I rely on Ballotpedia. That kind of gives us the most updated list of people who's tapped into the race. So far, Ethan Agarwal is on the list to run. Xavier Becerra, Ian Charles Calderon, of course, Katie Porter, we just mentioned, Raji Robb, Tom Steyer, Tony Thurman, Antonio Villaraigosa, and Betty Yee, and Michael Younger. That is a long list. Oh, no, that's not all. Excuse
looks
me.
like Oliver.
This.
Oliver's here, I think.
Oh, yes.
Let's see.
Okay. Just bring Oliver up. But yeah, it's a long list of people that's running. That's just on the Democratic side. There's also a long list of people who's running on the Republican side for just governor as well.
We need to get them all here on OVC.
There's one Libertarian.
I wanna talk to all of them.
Oliver said he's joined. So can we request him up?
I don't see him.
I seen it said that he joined it live, but I don't see him in the queue. That is interesting. Oh, there he is.
There he is.
Hey.
How are you?
Hi, good. Thanks for having me.
Good. Glad that you be here.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let us know whenever you're ready, and we'll go ahead and start.
I'm ready now.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Our Vote Counts TikTok Town Hall. I am your moderator, Jazz B. And also I have Yolanda, who is also our moderator. Hello, Yolanda. Hi. So for those who are not familiar with Our Vote Counts, we are also known as OVC. We are a nonpartisan movement uniting Americans from all walks of life to empower voters, support candidates of integrity, and ensure every voice is heard. Through education, outreach, accountability, and action, we're building a stronger democracy. So with one informed vote at a time, join us because your vote is your power. So tonight we're joined by Oliver Ma. Oliver is a candidate running for Lieutenant Governor of California. We will be taking his questions live. We'll be talking about his background, his vision for the state, and of course, we'll have some fun things to get to know him as well. So, Oliver, for those, since you're not familiar with the format of this town hall, we will ask you a set of questions, and then after those set of questions, we will allow one person to come up and ask you a question, and then repeat the process after that. All right. So, we've learned that you have a law degree from Harvard. You're a civil rights attorney. You are also a community organizer. But for those who are meeting you for the first time, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're running for Lieutenant Governor?
Of course. Hey, thanks so much for doing this. Thanks for having me. My name is Oliver. My family and I immigrated to the U.S. when I was 7. We moved to Orange County in California, where I grew up. And growing up, we, like many immigrant families, never saw the court system as something to get justice from, but always something to be afraid of. And so I went to undergrad, I went to Harvard for law school to fight for my family and my community. I grew up advocating for my parents because they don't speak much English, and helping them fill out forms and take phone calls, and went to law school to do the same thing, basically. And after law school, I came back to California to work as a civil rights lawyer at the ACLU to defend immigrant families. It's my dream job, working as a civil rights lawyer, and I was very happy there until about the beginning of this year, when the very first immigration raid in the whole country was in Kern County, where I was based out of, and where I'm still based out of right now. And for weeks, the first thing I would do when I woke up every morning to work is I would cry, because we would see another 40, 50, 60 people kidnapped, and know that that's another 40, 50, 60 families torn apart, and know that that's communities devastated. And so we filed our lawsuits to sue the Trump administration, and we actually won in federal court. In April, we won an injunction protecting the Central Valley of California from raids, and in July, we won a similar injunction protecting Southern California from these immigration raids. But what was very noticeable to me was the Trump administration did not care. A court order to them was just like a sheet of paper. And it really showed me that a lot of the traditional guardrails of our democracy are no longer there. And so that's one of the big reasons I'm running, is so California steps up to protect their immigrant families and to protect families in general and make this a state that works for normal people instead of for these special interests that are spending so much on our elections.
Thank you for that. So I'm going to ask you an icebreaker question before we get down to the meat and potatoes, the tough interrogating style questions. So
Ask away.
could you tell could you tell me, what is a hobby you wished you had more time doing during the campaign?
Oh, yeah. So I grew up playing water polo, which for people not from California, it's like our football. Huge popular sport here. And one thing I love doing is working with kids. And so I've often coached water polo teams up until when about a year ago, I coached a 10 and under water polo team here in Bakersfield. The kids I coached were ages 7 to 10. And I love working with them. I love teaching them the sport. I love taking them to games. And now that I'm campaigning, it's a little too busy to work with those kids. But I miss them, and I always try to make it out to their games to see how they're doing.
Okay, thank you for that. So I didn't know that water polo was a major sport. So that is something I definitely learned. So I appreciate you letting me know the significance of the sport in the state. All right, so we're going to go ahead and roll it over to talk about housing infrastructure and community stability. So I'll hand it over to Yolanda. Yolanda?
Hi, Oliver. How you doing?
Hi, Yolanda. Good.
I know about water polo. I'm in California too. I had a team in high school at my high school, so I know all about it. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you a question. I'm looking away because I'm looking at my computer. So public transit and accessibility. Well, we're talking about housing infrastructure and community stability. And under public transit and accessibility, you propose making California the first state with free, reliable public transit. How would you fund and expand light rail, bus-only lanes, and rural connections to make transportation accessible to everyone?
Yeah. There's a lot of things that I think California should be doing to make the state more accessible and to have more opportunity for regular people. And I think transportation is a huge one. The state is exceptionally expensive, and a lot of people depend on public transportation. And the more reliable we make it and the more affordable we make it, the better off we're going to be as a state. And anytime we propose things like this, I think the question we always get from the other side is, how are you going to pay for it? And what I always say is California is already, the taxes here are already very high. And the money is there, it is just being misspent. I think the high-speed rail is a great example. That was something that was promised to be built back in 2008. And by now, it was supposed to be all complete. It was supposed to cost $10 billion. Today, in 2025, all the money's gone. They've gone way over budget and spent all of that money, but no single section of the rail is even complete. And so the money went to someone, some industries, some consultants, some people who donate to our politicians got to pocket that taxpayer money. And what me and my campaign wants to do is to get that money to be invested in regular people instead of these special interests that are giving money to our politicians.
That's great. I was really looking forward to that high-speed rail too.
I live in Bakersfield. It would be very nice for me.
Okay, under affordable housing and rent protections, corporate landlords continue to buy up neighborhoods and drive rents higher. How would you strengthen rent and protect tenants from unjust evictions to ensure stable, affordable housing for Californians?
Absolutely. So this is something that's very near and dear to my heart. I did 2 years of eviction defense where I represented low-income folks against these slumlords that were trying to evict them. And I remember one client I had who, this man was probably the hardest working man I've ever known. He had 2 young daughters, immigrant family, worked 3 jobs at the same time. So he was literally always working. Every single day of the week, from dusk till dawn, he was working. And they were making it work, building their family, keeping a roof over their heads. And this corporate landlord comes by and buys their building. and in the very next month raised their rent about 100%. So doubled their rent from one month to the next. And did that not only to his family, but every single other family in that building. And so we sued to protect this family. And then this is just literally one of the most disgusting landlords you could imagine. Everything horrible that landlord has done, just one out of many horrible things this landlord did is he shut off heat in the winter to save money on gas. And this is in Boston, which in the winter, it is crazy cold. So when I went to visit this family and to visit my clients, I remember seeing their little daughter, and she was wrapped up under layers of blankets. And she had been there the whole morning because she was afraid to go outside. It was too cold for her to get up from under bed. And so we sue, and we find out that this landlord, through different LLCs, had about 20 buildings in the city of Boston. And each of these buildings had between 3 families to 20 families. And he had done the same thing to every single one of those families in every single one of those buildings. So that man and that corporate landlord single-handedly raised the rent for about 100 families. That is a problem. And that's a huge problem in California too, where we have these giant private equity companies, BlackRock, investment firms, who can just come by and buy tens of thousands of single family homes. Now, I don't know about you, but I think homes should be for regular people to live in, not for these corporate landlords, these private equity companies to invest in. But right now, they're allowed to buy tens of thousands of homes, which freezes other families out of ever being able to afford those homes and instead have to pay them rent instead. That's something that we want to change. We want to ban these corporate landlords from owning a single family home.
That's great. I hope that happens because it's crazy out here.
Mm-hmm.
So we would like to see if anybody has any questions. You could come up and go in the queue, or you could type up your question in the chat. I have a question if we don't have anybody. Like I said, I'm in California also. I'm in Southern California. In San Bernardino County, and I live in low-income housing. So my rent goes up 10% yearly, regardless of my income, which makes it harder to make ends meet. What specific policy proposals do you have to cap annual rent increases for low-income housing residents in our state, if any?
I think we need statewide rent control, which takes repealing custom auctions, which is a law in the state of California that makes it much more difficult to have rent control. 10% a year increase is crazy. And, these are landlords who don't do anything. That's the most messed up part about this is you have these investors who don't do anything but just rest on the amount of money they have invested, while those of us who rent have to work day and night to pay these people rent. They don't deserve 30 to 50% of our income for sitting on their ass doing nothing. So I think we need statewide rent control. We need to freeze the rent in the state of California. Not only that, but we need to drive these investors out of the housing market so that we aren't stuck paying rent for our whole lives, and instead we can actually own our own homes one day.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for that. So we're going to go to immigration rights. Your favorite, I know. I saw your video, your ICE video. Equity and social justice. Jazz?
Yes, thank you for those responses, Oliver, regarding housing is concerned and infrastructure. But more importantly, I know you highlighted in your introduction regarding you experiencing in your home state of ICE raids. But with that being said, could you tell me, since you've pledged to hold federal agencies more accountable for unlawful raids and shutting down for-profit detention centers, what steps would you take at the state level to protect immigrant families from exploitation and fear?
Yes, absolutely. So one really messed up part about this whole immigration system are the for-profit immigration detention centers, which I'll tell you all a little about. So these are centers that a lot of the folks being picked up by ICE right now are being taken to. And every single one of these centers are run not by the federal government, not by ICE, but by private for-profit prison companies whose stocks have tripled since Trump took office. And there's one dad, I'll give an example, who I know in there. This man had been in the US for 20 years, never committed a crime. He had always worked as a farm worker over that 20 years, married a US citizen, has 4 US citizen kids. And one day while coming home from the fields, ICE swarmed him home from work, and they locked him up in one of these centers. And the way he keeps in touch with his kids is he makes phone calls, and they charge him $5 per phone call. And the way he makes money for these phone calls is he works. In these centers, he works for a full day, and they pay him $1. And it's the same situation in all of these centers. People work for full days, and they get paid $1 a day. And so this man has to work a full week just to make one phone call with his kids. That is at the core of why these raids are happening, because these for-profit prison companies have a lot of money to be made from jailing up immigrant families. And that's why they're not just going after criminals, they're going after people who've been here for 20 years. They're going after the farm workers and the day laborers. They're going after people who have multiple US citizen kids, because they're just looking for people with brown skin. They're just looking for bodies to throw into these centers so they can keep on cashing in from taxpayer money. Think about how messed up this system is, right? Before these raids, this person, this dad and his kids, they were together as a family, and he was taking care of them. And now we as taxpayers, we're raising him in this detention center, and we also have to raise his 4 kids who now don't have their dad. That's a burden, financial burden that we are paying just so this for-profit prison company can profit. And of course, then this prison company donates money to politicians on both sides, by the way, about equally to Republicans and Democrats, to keep these raids going, to lock up more immigrants, and to give them more of our taxpayer money.
Response. So I just want to go ahead and segue into talking more about criminal justice and prisons and inclusion. Are you familiar with the California model?
For prisons?
Yes.
To somewhat, yeah.
Okay. Well, I did some research, and I have a friend who informed me about the California model, which I've learned that it's more of a more humane system, and instead of actually doing the so-called correctional way of correcting inmates, so to speak. It's more of a humane way of looking at prisons in a different lens. But more importantly, with that, the California model, I've learned that it's more of a state-led initiative to reform prisons. And it was modeled off of Scandinavian countries in the way they implement their prison system. But with that being said, I've heard that there have been some budget cuts with this initiative in the state. Could you tell me, how would you prevent the California model from creating a 2-tiered system where it would essentially lead to model facilities receiving the funding that they deem necessary for effective rehab and mental health services, and that will leave out other facilities not getting the adequate funding?
Yeah. I hate talking trash about my home state of California, but here I think, the California model might not be what it's made out to be. I know for a fact that some of the folks in there are being exploited in very similar ways to our private immigration detention centers. The people in California prisons actually also work for $1 a day. And in fact, what's even more shocking is some of these inmates are working as firefighters. So they go out, they fight the wildfires devastating the state of California, and they get paid $1 a day. And once they get out of prison, often they are unable to work as firefighters. So we are exploiting them to work for $1 a day when they're in prison, and when they're out, they've served their time, and they're out and they're looking for economic opportunities. Suddenly we're freezing them out. I think that's a huge problem. And yes, funding is being cut from these prisons, but I don't think that should come at the expense of resources for the incarcerated folks inside. Because, I know folks who went through the system, and for them, the classes they were able to take, the GEDs, the resources they were able to access absolutely is so crucial for them. But I think so much of what we have to do as a state is to decrease the amount of people who are in these prisons. And I think that takes giving these folks more economic opportunity when they get out, better job prospects, letting them work as firefighters. If they could do it as, for $1 a day back then, why can't they do it when they come out, right? But so much of our state systems are for profit. The healthcare system is for profit. The prison system is for profit. And when these things are for profit, the incentives are all messed up. When you're a for-profit prison, your whole incentive is to get these people to come back. You want your prison to be a pipeline to more prison. And so, prisons absolutely have an incentive to cut resources for their incarcerated folks, so these people keep coming back and so they can keep making money. And I think that's got to change.
Thank you for that answer. Okay, so I will go ahead and allow someone who would like to come up and ask you a question, Oliver. If not, I will try to see if we can catch a question in the chat. So I'll give it a few seconds to give someone the ability to come up and ask you a question. But I do have a follow-up with you regarding the private prison system in California. As I've learned from, just on the federal level, I've learned from the last administration, their specific DOJ Civil Rights Division held a lot of correctional officers accountable within that 4-year term that I have ever seen be held to account. Could you expound more about that? I've seen that they prosecuted several correctional officers in different states, and I think including in California. Are you privy to some of those prosecutions?
I'm not privy to some of those prosecutions. That sounds like the right way to go about it. I'll say these prisons often have a huge incentive to not let investigators in, to not provide transparency. When it comes to the immigration detention centers, California actually passed a law this year, I believe, that allows the state or the county public health inspectors into these detention centers, because we're hearing all sorts of horrible stories about bad living conditions, right? Pests, rats, cockroaches, black mold, dirty water, dirty drinking water, dirty food, all of these things that are a public health crisis and that drains resources from the rest of the state. But so the state obviously wants to send in inspectors, but these private prison companies have sued to stop this law from going into effect, which for me is always a sign of guilt, right? It's the same as the cops who don't want the body cameras. Well, if you are really doing everything right, then why are you so afraid of transparency? And these prisons are absolutely afraid of that transparency.
All right, thank you for that. Okay, so it looks like I don't see any questions in the chat or anyone in the queue to come up. So I'll go ahead and roll it over to the next set of topic questions. Yolanda?
Thank you for that, Jazz. Okay, so we're going to talk about healthcare. You pledged to make healthcare, including mental health and dental care, a human right. What would your plan for implementing single-payer healthcare in California look like, and how would you build support for it?
Yeah. When I was born in Beijing, the average Chinese person lived 8 years shorter than the average American. And today, just 3 decades later, the average Chinese person lives longer than the average American. And I think that's a huge problem. And there's a reason for that, which is our healthcare system is meant to profit. And so they have an incentive to keep people sick. My grandma has diabetes and she takes insulin, which is a drug that was invented more than 100 years ago. In any other country, insulin is about $10 per serving, except in the US, where it is $110 per serving. And the reason it is so expensive is because we allow private companies to buy the rights of these medicine and then charge whatever they want. We as a country, we are spending twice as much per person on healthcare than just about any other country. But the outcome we get is way worse. Our life expectancy has been flat, if not declining, over the last few years, while every other country it's growing. And so we have a healthcare system that needs to be changed, that needs to be completely reformed. And it cannot be this current for-profit model, which is exploiting people. And so I think California needs single-payer healthcare, universal healthcare, including mental healthcare. And whenever people ask, where's the money going to come from? I like to say the money money is already being spent. We spend so much on healthcare, and the way that we decrease the amount we have to spend on healthcare is when we hold these for-profit investment companies and insurance companies responsible for gouging prices. And number two, we get people to get preventative care so that their conditions don't get worse and worse and end up costing more and more. I have a fake tooth. I don't know if you guys can tell which one is fake. I'll let you take up a guess, but one of them is fake. And the reason I lost it is completely because of this issue. I was playing water polo and got an injury in my tooth. And when I went to the doctor, the dentist, and they said it's infected and it'll cost us about $500 to fix it. And I was like, I'm not going to spend $500 to get an infection taken care of. I'm just going to take some ibuprofen, make sure it stops hurting, and I'll let my body fight it by itself. And over the next few years, every few months or so, my gums would swell up and the tooth would be in a lot of pain, and I'll take more ibuprofen. And eventually, after 4 years, I had lost so much bone mass around the tooth that the tooth just fell out completely. And now I have a fake one. And this entire process now has cost me probably over $5,000. It's wasted hundreds of dentist hours. And all of that could have been resolved back in the original date of the injury for $500 if we had preventative health care.
Wow, well, I cannot tell which one is fake, so your dentist did a great job. Okay, we're also going to talk about climate, environment. Your platform supports a California-based Green New Deal. How would you ensure that clean energy investments create stable, unionized jobs while protecting communities that currently rely on fossil fuel industries?
Yeah, the Lieutenant Governor sits on the State Lands Commission, and I would use my position to make sure we don't have any new oil drilling, non-renewable energy drilling in the state of California. That's going backwards. Our state already has a huge problem with wildfires. And so I think our state has so much amazing natural resources that makes us really efficient at clean, renewable energy. And so I think we got to invest in that. That's going to be a good source of jobs for the state of California. And it's a way that California can lead the country and show them what a progressive alternative, a Green New Deal, a cleaner, renewable alternative looks like for the country. So I think California has to protect our lands, protect our communities from pollution, protect our communities from wildfire, and invest in the future.
Absolutely. We're going to see if we have any questions in the chat or if somebody wants to come up and ask a question. Don't see. All right, so Jazz.
Okay. All right. So we're going to go and test your temperature, so to speak. This is going to be a set of rapid fire questions for you, Oliver. So let's see how quick you can think on your feet. Okay.
Okay.
All right. First question is yes or no? Should California expand statewide rent control?
Yes.
Should California end all contracts with for-profit immigration detention centers?
Absolutely. Yes, please. If I say yes, can it get done automatically?
I hope so. Is a California single payer system achievable within the next decade?
Yes.
All right. Is AI surveillance in the workplace something California needs stricter regulation on?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Do you believe corporate PACs have too much influence in state politics?
Yes, they do. And my campaign's not taking any money from corporate PACs.
All right. Should more state investment dollars go to schools and clinics rather than large corporate projects?
Yes.
All right. Lastly, in one sentence, what does a worker-centered economy mean to you?
Worker-centered economy. When we're the people who are contributing the most to our state are also being, also have the opportunity for the American dream.
All right. Well, good job on that. Those are the pretty much wrapped up all of my rapid fire questions. So you did very well. Thank you for that. All right. So we're going to roll over to talking about government, democracy, and accountability. So I've learned with your campaign is rejecting corporate PAC money, as we just touched on in the rapid fire questions. How would you push for statewide or national campaign finance reform to reduce corporate influence in politics?
Yeah, I'm focusing on the state of California, and in California, the elections, like any other elections, the PACs get to spend a unlimited amount of money pushing out the candidates of their choice. And when someone is spending millions of dollars to elect you, then they expect something in return. That's something that's got to change. I think Montana actually had a good legal model of classifying PACs in a way that allows them to restrict the number that PACs can spend in a way that doesn't run afoul of the Supreme Court decision Citizens United. I think that's something California should look into doing something similar. And yeah, I think we should have a state where it works for regular people and not for whoever's giving money to our politicians. My campaign is only taking money from regular people, and those are the people we're going to answer to and be accountable to. But I absolutely see the power and the influence that corporate PACs have in this process, because the pressure, the drive to fundraise is constant. And I am driving all over the state to fundraise grassroots dollars, and being able to take millions of dollars from a company would make my life so much easier, but it would corrupt our values.
Just to follow up regarding ethics, more importantly about transparency, what steps would you take to make California government more transparent and ensuring that communities can easily see how their tax dollars are being used?
Yeah. I have a very close friend who works in government consulting, and she makes a lot more money than me as an attorney. And her job and those of her colleagues is basically to make government grants more accessible for nonprofits in healthcare. And you hear that and you think that's great. They are doing really important work. But I think what I and she have realized over the process is these grants are made inaccessible on purpose. They are written to be exceptionally difficult for nonprofits to actually access. And the reason they're inaccessible is because those in power, the senators, the members of Congress, want to be able to muddy the waters so they can give these grants to the people who support them, who they have a relationship with. And so, they hire people like my friend so they can say, hey, look, we don't want this process to be so muddy, to be so inaccessible. So look at all this money we're spending trying to make it more accessible, but really it's on purpose. I think that's the case for so much of our spending as a state and as a country, where it's just special interests donating money to politicians to compete to see who can cut a bigger slice of the taxpayer pie. That's something that needs to change. And so I think, what my team really wants to do is to ban corporate PACs from having this kind of power in politics, clean out our election process so that public money that gets entrusted to the state of California is actually spent on the public.
All right, thank you for that. All right, so we will allow someone to come up and ask you a question on the panel. So we'll give that a few seconds, but in the meantime, there are several questions in the chat. So someone asked, what do you think about the stuff that's happening in Dearborn, Michigan?
Dearborn, Michigan. What is happening in Dearborn, Michigan?
Not sure what context are they referring to, but we can ask another one. So someone asked about the effects of solar panels and on the environment, and what would be to do to go help for green. I'm sorry if I read that wrong. So I guess the question is regarding effects on solar panels and the environment. I guess how would you help to make it more green?
Yeah, California has great subsidies for people who want to invest in solar panels. And I think we should continue to do that.
Okay. All right. So looks like that's it so far regarding that set of topic questions. So I'll go ahead and roll it over to Yolanda to ask the next portion.
Okay, we're going to talk about economic development and working class empowerment. So regarding workers' rights and fair pay, how would you expand protections for workers, especially around fair scheduling, overtime, and employer misuse of technology like AI for surveillance or discipline?
Yeah, good question. So I, until recently, when I was an attorney, I was a union member and I was the grievance officer for my union. So protecting workers is something that I did. I filed about a dozen complaints against management every year, grievances against management. Yeah, I mean, I think unions are at the core of workers' rights because not only are they the best vehicle for folks to move into the middle class, but they also protect people's lives at work. They make sure there's no harassment at work. They make sure there's no discrimination. They advocate for safer workplaces. All of these things that are so important. And I think we need a government that sees unions as a partner. When the union is strong, then the state economy is strong, then the state's people are strong. And so right now, something that Trump is doing that's really dangerous is he's not appointing new people to the NLRB, the National Labor Relations Board. And as a result, the NLRB doesn't have quorum, which makes it really difficult for unions because whenever I file a grievance, if I can't come to an agreement with management, we escalate it to the National Labor Relations Board. But if the board doesn't have quorum, then my threat to escalate my grievance is really flat because management knows it's not going to go anywhere. And so California needs to step up and make its own version, which currently the state is trying to do, its own version of the National Labor Relations Board, so that unions actually have leverage to file these grievances when management makes a mistake. And then when it comes to surveillance, yeah, I don't know much about AI. I went to law school, not whatever people in AI went to school for, but AI scares me, and it is being used in a way that is very dystopian. It's being used to monitor workers at the workplace. It's being used by ICE to lock up people and to fine people. All of these are ways in which we see a very negative effect of AI, where AI is being used to actually give more power to the government, to further oppression, to take away our freedoms. And so, yeah, I think we really need to back unions and get surveillance, not only out of the workplace, but out of the hands of the federal government as well.
Thank you for that. That's a great answer. Here's another one about corporate accountability. How would you ensure that California's economic growth benefits working families instead of enriching large corporations and real estate investors? I know you talked some about that.
Yeah, we absolutely need to, because this state is growing. The state's economy is massive, but it's not working for a lot of people in our state. A huge problem is the cost of housing, the cost of healthcare, the cost of education have all spiraled while wages have not grown much. And that's something that we really need to address. And so that's why my campaign is focused on making housing affordable for everyone by taking on these corporate landlords. That's why we back a single payer universal healthcare model for the state of California. And that's why we want to make the UCs, Cal States, and other public universities affordable for Californians. I think when people have access to affordable healthcare and education and housing, then that lets them really live out the opportunities that California has to offer.
Right. I think we have some questions. Here's one. I'm in Los Angeles. The houseless crisis continues to grow. Do you have any plans to address this? Both of them seem to be asking about the unhoused across the state.
Yeah, absolutely. The price of housing is so out of control in our state that there's many people that are just one bad luck, one emergency away from being unhoused, whether it be losing their homes or being evicted from their housing. So what my team is going to do is to protect tenants by by doing a statewide rent control scheme, by making it more difficult for landlords to evict tenants and push them out of their homes, and also bring down the price of housing. Right? Right now the demand for housing is much higher than what it really should be, because there's all these private equity companies pumping billions of dollars into our housing market to try to buy up more homes. And that extra demand drives up the price of housing. I think we need to take away that demand, take away the money private equity is spending on our housing market, so that houses are actually for people to live in and not for these companies to invest with. That'll bring down the price of housing and then go a long way in solving some of our unhoused situation.
Right. There's another question. What about the ones already unhoused? So there's been a ton of budget mismanagement.
Yeah, yeah. I am a big supporter of the housing first approach when it comes to helping unhoused people. What you see is there's a lot of shelters that have a lot of conditions, right? You need to have a good mental health. You need to be off drugs. You need to have healthcare. All of these things before they supply housing to people. But housing, having a roof over your head is so important, and people need that in order to do these other things, in order to sign up for health insurance, in order to get the treatment they need, in order to get the peace of mind and not have to live on the streets. So I'm a big fan of having housing first for people and bringing the services to them in their housing rather than doing it the other way around. There is a ton of money being spent, but as the question said, it's being mismanaged. There's a lot of nonprofits and a lot of special interests who are making a lot of taxpayer money and not doing a whole lot out of it. And the reason they're allowed to get away with it is because they donate and they have relationships with our elected officials. And so I think at the core of what we need to change in the state of California is to get money out of politics and get this corruption out of politics so the state works for regular people.
I love that. Absolutely. Thank you. We're going to go now to healthcare, women's health, and public education. Jazz.
Thank you. So one thing I did learn about the function of a lieutenant governor, Oliver, is similar to how a vice president is on the federal level. You are the tie-breaking vote in the state senate. But one unique fact about it is you will be the presiding. You will be a part of the board, the voting board member of schools such as the University of California, California State, and California's Community College. In regards to that, we've also learned that many schools still suffer from funding disparities, whether it's just K through 12, and then also factors when it comes to public schools, public universities. How would you ensure every student, regardless of zip code, has equal access to high quality education?
Yeah. I think we need to invest more into our teachers because right now across California, especially in school districts that are lower income, they're extremely under-resourced, and classroom sizes are getting up to 40, sometimes even 50 people. And that really is what allows students to fall through the cracks and for teachers to lose a personal relationship with each of their students. And so we need to invest more in teachers. And of course, the other side is going to say, pay teachers, where's the money going to come from? And I will say that, and I have been saying that, you guys are offering $50,000 signing on bonuses to the ICE thugs that are tearing families apart. These bottom of the barrel people that can't get jobs anywhere else, that you're just taking without any restrictions because you're trying to tear families apart. Why don't we take some of that money, that $50,000 signing on bonus, and give it to the teachers who are actually educating our kids? Invest it in improving our families instead of tearing our families apart. So again, I think the money is there. We just need to be spending it on the things that regular people need, like a good education, rather than on tearing families apart and throwing people into for-profit prisons.
Thank you for that answer. So I'm going to roll it over to talk more about healthcare, more specifically about maternal health. We've learned over the past few weeks, there have been several videos of women going viral, being in distress, being in labor, and they're being ignored due to their pain that they have been decrying out and being neglected in the process. Regarding maternal mortality rates being so high, especially among women of color, what policies would you implement to ensure safe pregnancies and postpartum care for all women in California can be served?
Yeah, that's why I'm a supporter of DEI. I think our medical system is so based around the experiences of white people, in particular white men, and a lot of medicine and procedures are not tested for people like us. Not tested is the wrong word, but not designed based on the experiences of people like us. And we've probably all had these experiences of going to a doctor that isn't from our community, that doesn't look like us, and just treat us like a piece of meat, and just treat us like a body without being, having any kind of relationship with us. So I think that's something that we need to change, and having more doctors who are from the communities that they are trying to serve is going to improve some of that health outcome.
Thank you for that. And just as a follow up, I've noticed just even on the state level regarding the federal, well, particularly the Roe v. Wade decision, which in turn led to a lot of states having their trigger laws. But more importantly, with California, you all decided to expand more access for healthcare, specifically women's health, in the event that they decide to make decisions regarding their family. Could you tell me, is there still some room to grow for California to expand it a lot more, or do you feel like right now you all on a great track comparing to other states when it comes to women's health in general?
Yeah, I think California is doing good. I think we not only are we protecting the people here, but we have become a good resource and a good refuge for folks from other states who are trying to get this kind of healthcare. So that's something I think California should continue doing.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, so I'm going to allow someone who would like to come up and ask Oliver a question. So I'll give it a few seconds. If not, we'll roll it into talking about the next set of questions. So I don't see anything thus far, so I'll hand it back over to Yolanda to ask you the next set of questions.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to talk about public safety and local issues. So regarding community-based safety, what is your vision for public safety that balances accountability, prevention, and community trust?
Yeah, I think we need to invest more in our community, in our communities, because the police are not the ones who are solving some of the root causes of public safety, right? The reason that public safety is an issue is because there hasn't been investment. In fact, that investment has been cut in things like education and healthcare and housing. As those things get more expensive, people end up having less options. And we have things such as the school to prison pipeline. Here in the state of California, there are more students who go to a school that has a cop than goes to schools that have counselors and librarians and nurses. And if you ask your average student, would they rather have a cop with a firearm on campus who intimidates these students, or would they have librarians or nurses and counselors? I'm pretty sure 99% of students will pick the second one. That's where we got to put our investment. The police budget is taking up way too much of our budget. They don't need military grade weapons. They don't need tanks. They don't need assault rifles. And so, that's a change that I think we really need in order to improve public safety.
Absolutely. Regarding regional equity and local collaboration, California's regions have very different needs, from rural water access to urban congestion. How would you collaborate with local governments to address those challenges effectively?
Local water access and what?
Water access to urban congestion.
Water access to urban congestion as in like...
I'll do it again. California's regions have very different needs, from rural water access to urban congestion. How would you collaborate with local governments to address those challenges effectively?
Yeah, I think it takes accountability. My goal in running for lieutenant governor is not to speak on anybody's behalf. It is to hand power over to the communities that are being marginalized. I think that's how leaders are accountable. No one needs me to be their mouthpiece and speak on their behalf. And so in this office, I would want to work with local governments and help them advocate for these issues by giving them the knowledge, by handing over the power of the lieutenant governor to them to help, whether it be improving public safety, improving housing access, or in rural regions having access to water, or fixing the traffic jams in LA. All of these things, different local governments face different issues, and they know their issues best. And my job is to give the power and the knowledge of my office over to them as tools.
I love that. Somebody in the comments said, "This is Mandani energy for real." That's a good take. Okay, so we're going to open up for questions. If anybody has any questions, you could type it in the chat, or you can go request up. See if anybody has any. Doesn't look like it. So thank you for all of those answers. We're going to do some fun questions now, okay?
Great.
I was looking these up and I said, I have to do this part, Jess. Okay, so what's more stressful, arguing in court or trying to find parking in downtown LA?
Did you write these?
Some of these I did.
These are great. Arguing in court because I'm a very good parallel parker, and so I've actually never had a horror story about LA. But arguing in court, I mean, for me, it's a day in court, but for my clients, it's probably one of the most significant days of their lives. Whether it be they're facing criminal charges, whether it be they're trying to be reunited with their families, whether it be they're trying to stay in their home, the stakes are way higher arguing in court.
Okay, if California could only fix one thing tomorrow, traffic, rent, or wildfire smoke, which would you pick?
Rent, absolutely rent. The other two issues are important, but too many people in our state are spending 30 to 50% of their income on housing and growing the already fat corporate landlords that we have in our state. If we can fix rent as an issue in California, we're going to unlock a whole new level of opportunity for our state.
Yes, I agree. Okay, be careful with this one.
Hmm?
I'm gonna try to not boo if you say the wrong one. Chargers, 49ers, or Rams?
Oh man, my honest answer is I don't really care about football.
It's a safe answer.
I think the Jared Goff went to Berkeley when I was there, and I think he was at the Rams, still was at the Rams, so we can say that one.
Okay, I won't boo you, even though that was the wrong answer, but it's okay. If you could teleport to any California city for lunch, where are you going?
I would go to San Gabriel Valley. Bakersfield is great. I love being in Bakersfield, but the Asian food out here is really nothing. It's nothing special. And so every time we drive to SoCal for an event, whether it be in LA, Orange County, San Diego, we always stop in the San Gabriel Valley and get some really good Asian food.
Okay. What's your go-to way to unwind after a heated political debate?
I don't know that I need to unwind after a political debate because I don't actually debate with people. I love listening to people, even if they disagree with me. I love learning from them and seeing why they stand the way they stand. You know, I'm very much on the left, but I have friends who voted for Trump. I have friends who are Israelis, and I always made it a point to listen to them and treat them with dignity and respect, because that's how I think we're going to actually win them over to our side. So the way I unwind is I will reflect on the conversation and think about how I can further radicalize them.
Okay. If you could pass one law that made everyone's life 10% easier, what would it be? No policy explanation needed.
Why only 10%?
Just 10%.
Okay, so nothing too crazy. Just 10%. I would ban white people tacos because I think those are a plague on the state of California.
Okay, I agree with that. I am voting for that. Yes. Okay, then the last one is, finish this sentence. California is not truly California without...
California is naturally California.
California is not truly California without
our diversity and our different people. My partner is from Alaska, and right now we're in this constant tug of war, and she wants me to come to Alaska and I want her to come to California. And the thing that it makes it most difficult for me to go to Alaska is the fact that every time I walk into a room, every single person in that room will look at me and stare at me because I'm not white. And, around here, it's so nice being able to just feel at home, feel in place, not have to feel like I have to represent every single Asian person on earth because I'm the first Asian person they've met. So California.
And all that snow. We don't do snow in California.
The snow's cool. I love going to Alaska in the winter.
Okay, so I'm going to pass it back to Jazz for audience Q&A.
So this is just a free fall opening for anyone who would like to ask Oliver a question. I did see some in the chat. Someone asked, "Is there anything you can do about property taxes in California?"
I think we need to repeal Prop 13. That is a law that lets Disneyland and mega corporations pay property taxes at the 1970s level, because it's a law that caps your property tax as long as you own a property to what it was when the proposition was passed in the 70s. And, for regular people, we buy homes, we sell homes, when folks pass away, they pass their homes down to their family, and so that property tax gets bumped up to the current levels whenever. But for companies like Disneyland, who hold on to their properties, huge properties, in perpetuity, they are still paying in today the property tax level from the 1970s, and that's stealing millions of tax dollars from our economy. I think we can very well bring down the property taxes for regular people so that corporations are paying their fair share in property taxes.
Okay, and there's another question asking about what is your thoughts about public transport?
Make it free and accessible for people. We need more, and we need it to be affordable.
All right, and I do have a question for you, just to kind of get back into the function of the lieutenant governor. Will you play, if you are elected, will you play the role as like the right hand person to the governor? Will you be like their whisper, or their, I guess you consider like their heartbeat or their conscience? Would you serve as that type of purpose as well to the governor?
Yeah, there's the good thing about California is the lieutenant governor and governor races are separate. We're not on the same ticket. I am an independently elected office holder in the state, and so I don't have to do their bidding. And so it really depends on whoever the governor is. I'm going to have a conversation with them and say, hey, we can be partners or we can be enemies. And the way we can be partners is we work together on some of these priorities that are important to Californians, that are important to protecting regular Californians. If this is someone that wants to make our state more affordable for regular people and kick the corruption out of our politics, then I think it's someone that I'm going to partner with and get a lot done. And if it's someone who's in the interest of the corporate establishment and who just wants to make these corporations in California richer on the backs and at the expense of regular people, then they're not going to have a friend on their side.
Yeah, so we have George is in the chat. He's actually running for governor of California. So he made a comment, said that you could, if you all had the opportunity, you can whisper in his ear. So
that's it. Sounds like we should talk, George.
Yes. So the next question I have for you is, due to the extreme weather conditions of what we've seen thus far in the past couple of years with California, whether if it's mudslides, floods, fires, droughts, do you think that on a state level there are some things that need to be implemented where you can collaborate with the Senate to pass some type of legislation regarding climate is concerned?
Yeah. I think we need to invest in clean, renewable energy, and that's why I'm a proponent of the Green New Deal. It is not only going to make our communities less polluted, it is not only going to protect our jobs, but also make our climate safer and protect our homes from wildfires. And I do have another interview right now, so I think this has to be the last question.
Okay. All right, so it looks like I don't see any other questions, and those questions we have wrapped up thus far. So I want to go ahead and thank you again, Oliver, for joining us tonight. This has been a great conversation. We thoroughly enjoyed you. But with the final word for us, what is your message to voters ahead of the primaries?
Yeah. Sorry. This is a campaign that's going to fight for regular people ahead of the corporate interests. And if you want to get involved, you can go to our website and click volunteer. And we are training folks to represent us in their communities in a really fun grassroots way.
And with you mentioning your website to get in contact with you, can you also plug in your socials on how people can stay involved with you and how can they contribute to your campaign?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at Oliver4CA and on TikTok at OliverMa2026. And you're welcome to volunteer or donate to our campaign.
All right. Thank you for that. Again, I want to thank OVC for hosting this town hall. It has been amazing. I want to thank you as well, Oliver, and those participants who are in the chat, and our team, of course, who have curated the questions for us to ask you in order to get to know you a lot better. But with that being said, we do have one last thing we want to invite you to. And we would like for you to join us for our next town hall. We do have our next town hall coming up. We will be having candidate Michelle White. Michelle is running for Georgia State House in District 81. That will be held on Saturday, November 22nd at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So hopefully if you have some time with us, you can come and stop by. And if you would like to ask Michelle a question, feel free to do so. So just wanted to extend our formal invitation to you if you would like to come in and listen in on our next town hall. All right.
Thank you, Oliver.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
So as we close out, once again, our vote counts. We are also known as OVC. We are a nonpartisan movement uniting Americans from all walks of life to empower voters, support candidates of integrity, and ensure every voice is heard. Through education, outreach, and accountability and action, we are building a stronger democracy. So with one informed vote at a time, join us because your vote is your power. And once again, thank OVC for hosting this town hall. I want to thank my lovely Yolanda for being here with me to moderate. It has been a pleasure.
Thank you. It was my first time, and I really enjoyed myself, Jazz. And I just wanted to show off our shirt. I don't know if I'm doing it good, but yes, you guys get your merch.
Yes, we also have our Vote Counts merch. So be sure to inbox our Vote Counts to get more information on our merch that we will be launching soon. Actually, you can. I'm sorry, it's not launching. So you can actually get a shirt soon as soon as you reach out to us. We do have those available. So I stand corrected on that. So if you reach out to us, we do have those our Vote Count shirts available to you. So with that being said, thank you all. Thank you, Yolanda, once again for moderating with me. It's been a pleasure. And until then, see you all tomorrow. Have a great night.